Okay, so why did that disappear? I do not understand. What does that do? Stop. There it goes. Now it's back. Now that I know what that is for. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Okay, what is this? What are you commenting on, Christy Jorgensen? What are you commenting on? The live highlights from yesterday. Hey, hey, hey. Come here. Come lay down. No. Come here and lay down or you're going to go to your bed. Thank you. There you are. What's up? How you doing? We're going to wait for a few more people to come in. Trying to tap. That's what Camaro kept doing yesterday, too. Camaro kept trying to tap the screen. I'm going to take that off so I can set this up. Fucking TikTok has ruined everybody. So it's ruined everybody, huh? Yes, she's sweet girl. Okay, you're not gonna get close to it. You're not gonna do that. Let's see. I know I got something here. Ooh, lighting on. Ooh, the retouch on. There we go. Turn on a little bit of filter since that's what I do on TikTok. Gotta do my filter thing. Although I will say that YouTube's camera is a lot nicer than TikTok's camera. TikTok wants to make you look like you hideous troll. It's almost like Snapchat. Snapchat does the same damn thing. They want you to look friggin' ugly. Stop picking at that. Goodness, this girl. You're about to go to bed, little one. Let's see. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. Whoops. Sorry. Every single time something happens. Come on. What was that? There we go. There we go. Okay, so now I gotta send this. Let's see if I can send this to Amy. Where's Amy? There she is. Ha! Just kidding. There we go. I was like, why couldn't I send it to Amy? Well, hello, Monkey Mama. Hello, hello. Oh, I thought something was happening over there. Are you gonna go now night? So you gonna go now night? What's up, Becca? Need to fix your day one here. No, Camara's not here yet, little butt. Hey, hey, excuse me. Excuse me. You're supposed to be relaxing. I know you have no relax. Now you're gonna go over here. I know. Camara's not here. Let's see. Miranda's not here. That's it, Amy. Hi, Amy. Hold on, baby. Hold on, baby. Let me add everyone here so I can get Miranda in. No, ma'am. There we go. Hey, hey, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say, Camara's usually on Discord, if anything, so she will end up seeing that. Okay, now, and I think I'm gonna go put her to bed first before I get started because she's already getting crazy on me. Let's go night. It's close enough to 7:30. It's close enough to 7:30. She needs to go to bed. She's been laying here talking to her feet. She's been laying here talking to her feet. She getting all kinds of yeah. Say night night. Hey, say night night. Okay. No problem, Becca. I'm gonna go lay her down and then we'll get started. Okay, come on. Please, Kira, do not get up. I do have to check though. Yeah, of course. That's why I said, please, Kira, do not get up because I did not want to do that. But I'm gonna have to do it anyway, aren't I? Okay. Yeah. Come here. I'm gonna grab my arm real tight. You go grab my arm real tight. Come on. Can I have hugs? Can you give mommy hugs? Give me hugs. Hi. Hi, pretty girl. We're going night night. You've been laying there sleeping. Or not sleeping, but cuddling. Hi, baby. What are you doing? What are you doing, sweet girl? Can you go night night? Can you go night night? You ready to go night night? Come on, let's go night night. Come on. Aria, you go. She grabbed on. Come on, you gotta go night night. Come on. Come on. Here. Here we go. Come on. There we go. No, ma'am. Don't pull on that because you ruined like all my neck and my hair and everything else. I don't care if you bite me. You're gonna go in there regardless. No. 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 You gotta go night night. Thank you. Good girl. You gotta go night night. I know. You don't like being in there, but that's okay. I get it. And I need to fix this. Here we go. Come on. My bad. I accidentally touched the. I accidentally touched the mic. I muted it. Oops, sorry. That old elderly dog. And all you missed was the fact that I was laughing at a toy that fell out of my shirt. I said, "Oh, she took toys and my clothes with her." I had it fall out of my shirt. I love having an old dog. Ugh. She went out. She went out when we came back in. I thought it was you. No, it was totally me. She went out when I came back in before we went and took a shower. She went out before we ate. She went out after we ate before I went back there to sit with Aria. And yet she still peed in my house. Oh, she's old. Turn off that light so I can put this away. Ooh, and I know somebody who's going to be mad that I won't be here early morning on Saturday. It's like, I get it, you're 16, but come on. Give me a break. Give me a break. Just once. Give me a break. If I hear her moving around, I have to go out there. If I hear her moving around out there, I have to go out to make sure that she's not peeing on the floor. Okay. At least this way, I can get Aria out of the way early, and I can just read right through. Because yesterday, I read one chapter with her, and all you could see was mostly me moving my arm like I was trying to get her to stop touching everything. What is that? Oh, it's a chip clip. I see this little black thing right there, and I'm like, what is that on my floor? I thought it was a bug. Technically, I thought it was a tarantula, but I thought it was a tarantula. Now, Becca, have you seen tarantulas out where you are? I haven't seen them out here, but I've heard they're out here. I'll put that up there. Tarantulas are terrifying, and no, I do not want any near me. Yeah. I heard there was like a whole clan of them running across the road at one time, and somebody was driving down the road, and I'm going, no, thank you. Thank goodness they weren't when I was on that road, because it was the road that I had been on earlier that day. So I was like, You'd cry if you saw one rather than an entire herd of them. Yeah, they said as they were coming up to the road, they were trying to figure out what the black stuff was on the road. Hey, that's okay. I haven't started yet. You're good. I haven't started yet. And not only that, but Camaro's not here, so I may have to send her something and go, get in here, lady. You're in the car? Okay, so you can't complain if you can't hear me. There we go. The sound isn't as loud. If you turn up your volume, maybe it would work. I don't know. If you saw more than one. Ugh. Let's see, crazy lady. Your sound is better here? No, this is the second one in my affair series. Yeah, this is the second book in my affair series. This one. So I read the first one last month. And then this is the second one. Yeah. What did I just get a notification for? Oh. So this is the second one. The third one, let's see. Hold on. I've got them all right here next to me. So this is the first one. Okay. So this is the first one. And then this is the second one. And then I've got the third one. That one's red next month. So we'll see this one in March. And then this one's in April. And that's the fourth one. That's the last one. It's backwards. Why is it? I don't know how to turn it around. If I do this, all it does is turn the screen around. It doesn't do anything. I didn't realize it was backwards. That's crazy. And then I do have, hold on, because I just took the book marker out. I got these two I'm working on right now for edits. We don't need to worry about that. But see, I got the bet. See, this is the reason why when I did my cult series, I put the numbers on there because a lot of people ask about these four and what order they're supposed to be in. So I made sure to put the numbers on my cult series. And pretty soon I won't be able to do that. I won't be able to hold my books up like that. Yeah, that's why I was like, it might be better if I did it that way. I just put Aria to bed, Miranda. I just put her in there. So she's in there running around. She should be asleep soon. I'm pretty sure she'll be out by 8. It's 7:33 right now. She was doing her little talking and stuff like that. I don't know what she did to her hand. I have no idea what she did to her hand, but she keeps licking one of her fingers. And she did it when we were outside. But she keeps licking one of her fingers. And it looks like every time she looks at it, it looks like it's red. That's why I kept asking her to let me see it when I was on TikTok. But every time I look at it, it's not red when I look at it close up. So I kept thinking, well, maybe it was just the sun. So when we came inside and I was looking at it, it's not red. So I don't know what it is, but she keeps licking one of her fingers. And I'm like, I'm going to keep an eye on it until tomorrow. And if it looks any worse tomorrow, it's just immediate bet. I can't deal with it. I don't know. See, that's what I'm wondering too. Yep. That is one thing. She keeps picking at me. So I keep getting these little spots when she grabs on to pull herself up, and then she wants to pick at me. Luckily, I've been putting some stuff on it every night. So now, and it's always all up and down my arms and my hands right here. But it's looking pretty good now. But yeah, she's always picking. So, and then she likes to, when she grooms the top of my head or even the back of my head, she finds one spot and then fixates on it and then picks at it until it's just a wound on the top of my head so she can lick at it. I'm like, she's forcing wounds on me now. I'm like, I want to get my hair done. I want to cut my hair real short because I'm tired of being used as vines. So I want to cut my hair, but I also want to do the color. So I want to color it black again. Oh no. Oh, that's so sweet. Jax is sweet. But yeah, I keep saying I want to color my hair again, but I can't color it if I have a wound on top of my head. So trying to do what I can to get rid of it. And then, yeah. See, and that is one thing too. I have to be careful with her. If I hand something to someone and they try to take it from me, she gets mad and she will rush at them. Or if they try to hand something to me and I'm taking it, they'll rush at them. Or she'll rush at them. So like with my granddaughter, when I kept trying to give her a drink, I would set it on the counter and then tell her that she could take it. Because if I tried to hand it to her, Aria automatically thinks, oh, don't take anything away from her. So, yeah. Man, I'm on YouTube all the time. I just watched 3 YouTube videos before I got on here. I'm a YouTube junkie. Biker and Goldie. They're the ones that are always on you every time you sit down. Every time you sit down in there, they're just like, those are your babies. I kind of like it, but the people in the post office, they don't like it at all because they know that I have to set something down. You're used to something, yeah. But yeah, they now know that if I get an order, I have to set the box down before they're allowed to touch it. As soon as my hands are off of it, Aria is fine. But if they try to reach for it when I'm trying to set it down, oh yeah, she's not gonna have any of it. So they've learned, which is nice, but still not. And then they told me how to use the outdoor mailbox. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's exactly what it is because they see you as their protector anyway because you've always been there. They have that bond with you. See, and I didn't know that. That's good to know. I mean, I knew that about Jax, but I did not know that. I just assumed they all were. Like you were just one of those people that just give me all of your animals. I don't care what kind they are. And it was like, oh, monkeys. I figured they were all owner surrenders for you because isn't that how you are? You just don't care about any of the animals. Just bring them all to me. Bring them all to me. I want them all. Doesn't matter how old they are. I will take you all. I mean, I would do that too if I had the space. Although I kind of did that with the cat. I know. Now, Aria was just under a pound when I got her. Just under. She was 0.7 ounces. She was just under a pound. She was tiny, but I will tell you this much though. She was 3 weeks old. By the time that she was 10 weeks, she was a pound. She was tiny. I knew she was so tiny. It was so cute. I miss the days that I could just put her on her blanket and set her down next to me when I went to the bathroom. And she would just sit there and look up at me and chirp. I cannot do that anymore. I haven't been able to do that since she was here for like 4 days. But when she was smaller, it was easier for me to do everything with one hand, Once they start getting a little big, then it's because their reach is just a little further. Stop touching the sriracha sauce in the refrigerator. She keeps touching the sriracha sauces in the refrigerator. Anyway, I'm going to get started. It is a lot earlier than it was yesterday, so we might be able to get through this a little faster. I am on chapter 9, though. So I am on chapter 9. I read the first 8 chapters. She's kind of pissed off because her mother came back. So now she's pissed at this woman who seems to say that, or claims to be her mother. So she's really pissed off at that. She's just getting heated. It was getting exciting yesterday. I do have the video from yesterday that is being posted at 10 a.m. on Friday. This one's going to be posted at noon on Friday, and then tomorrow's video will be posted at 2 on Friday. So all 3 of them, you can go through and watch them all. Just to make sure, in case you missed anything. All right, chapter 9. I sat up in bed and peered over at the clock, 2:23 a.m. I reached over to feel for Jasper and realized he wasn't there. I headed out to the reception area and all was quiet. It was too quiet. Not even the low hum of the air conditioner was heard. I saw a dim light on in my office and slowly made my way toward it. The door was only slightly cracked open, so I pushed it open wider in order to see who was in there. The horror of what I saw was haunting. Thick red liquid covered the walls and dripped from the furniture. Jasper lay upon the desk as only a torso and severed head. His head had been removed from the rest of his body, and it was placed straight up on the desk in front of his torso. Facing the door so I could see the fear on his face and his eyes, in his wide open dead eyes. His arms hung by the fingers in the center of the room, spaced apart just enough so each limb had its own blood pool on the carpet underneath. Each of his legs were hung by the toes over the guest chairs in front of my desk, causing their own blood pools to form on the seats.
Behind my desk, Rebecca stood, covered in blood and wielding a hacksaw, most likely what she had used to dismember my husband with. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The look on her face was terrifying. She stepped toward me with the hacksaw in hand. When I turned to run, I tripped over something after a couple of steps and fell face first onto the floor. I turned over and sat up to see the bodies of Jillian, Charlotte, and Gabrielle, which I was sure was not there moments before. Each one of them had their throats slashed so deep it appeared as though their heads were only holding on to their bodies by the spine. Rebecca seemed to have materialized in front of me, and the hacksaw lifted up over her head. I tucked my chin to my chest and attempted to cover myself with my arms. As she swung the saw down at me, I was finally able to scream out loud and woke up drenched in sweat. Jasper reached over and touched my shoulder. No, please, I yelled, jumping out of bed before realizing it was Jasper. I fell to the floor off balance due to my prosthetic leg having been removed before I laid down. The dream felt so real. I wasn't even aware I was asleep. I looked up at Jasper as he leaned over the edge of the bed and peered down at me on the floor. Once I focused on Jasper's face and realized he was still very much alive, I reached up for him to help me back into the bed with him. He climbed out of the bed, hooked his hands under my arms, and helped me back up into the bed. Oops. I curled up and cuddled into his arms. He kissed the top of my head and held me. It was a horrible nightmare. What's going on, Mac? Jasper asked. It was just a nightmare. I don't want to talk about it right now, I told him. No problem, sweetie. I'm here for you whenever you're ready, he told me in a calming voice. For the rest of the night, anytime I dozed off, I was jolted awake by the images of my loved ones, hacked up by a psycho woman. I decided to get up before the sun and made coffee for everyone. I reached over and grabbed my prosthetic leg and attached it before heading out to the dining area to start all 4 of the industrial percolators. While I was waiting for at least one percolator to finish, Amber Harwell, a guest at the center, came in and began helping set out the disposable cups and napkins. Amber was a 35-year-old rape victim. She came to the recovery center after being hospitalized for 2 weeks. A man broke into her home in the middle of the night and attacked her. He didn't steal anything or do anything else. The man went in with one intent, did what he wanted, and left. She called 911 and an ambulance came and picked her up. She had a little bleeding, so they kept her overnight. She was afraid to go back to her house, so every time the doctor mentioned she was going to be released, she would make up symptoms to stay longer. Finally, a nurse told her about the Ansley Kirkland Recovery Center, and she agreed to be released from the hospital. I had received a phone call from the hospital before she arrived. The nurse who had suggested the center to Amber gave me a heads up that she was coming in. I had already begun filling out her guest paperwork when Amber arrived. She walked slowly from the front doors up to the reception desk. As soon as Jillian welcomed her to the center, Amber burst into tears. I emerged from my office and attempted to comfort her. Taking her back into my office, I sat down next to her on the sofa and tried to talk to her. It took over an hour to calm her down, and she hasn't spoken a word since day 1. Hello, Amber, I said, just as she smiled at me. Would you like some coffee? I asked, and she nodded. I tried to engage her in conversation every time I saw her, but she only shared expressions with me. Gabrielle had made the suggestion once that Amber was deaf, but that was debunked when I called her name in a group session. She was looking down at her hands, and her head snapped up when I called her name, so I knew she could hear me. We weren't sure why she wouldn't talk, but I was hopeful that eventually someday she would have a lot to share. Once the tables were set up and ready, the percolators finished, and Jasper, along with our early rise guests, joined us in the dining area. I filled my coffee first, then stood at the end of the tables to greet everyone. Amber joined me, smiling as they all walked by with their full cups. Some of our guests still went to work, and others stayed at the center because they were afraid of being alone. The Ansley Kirkland Center of Recovery was a safe place for victims of violent crimes and amputees to live, while they learned how to start their lives over after a tragedy. The center was housed in a 5-story Victorian style mansion with approximately 50 bedrooms. Each floor was set up for different types of guests. The rooms were large enough for us to accommodate between 2 to 4 guests per room. The first floor was set up beautifully. Right through the front door was a large foyer that opened into the reception area. Behind the reception desk was a double staircase that split off between the east and west wings. On the wall behind the reception desk and between the staircase hung a large painting of Ansley. Behind the staircase was a room I used as my office. I had a section of the wall cut out and replaced with a window so I could see out to the reception. To the right of the front door was the amputee group therapy room. To the left of the front door was the abuse group therapy room. Each therapy session was broken up into 10 guests. Behind the therapy rooms was a large commercial sized kitchen with what looked like a ballroom through a swinging door. Jasper helped turn the ballroom into a dining area, and it was large enough to accommodate all the guests at one time. The second floor housed children. The east wing were foster kids. I insisted on becoming a foster parent in order to save the older kids the pain of what I went through in the foster care system. All of the children that were under my care were 10 and over. They went to school during the day, and anytime they needed one-on-one time, they would call, and either Jasper or I would meet with them. We gave them advice and kept them in line. They were pretty good kids most of the time. On the west wing of the second floor were the children that had suffered a tragedy. Some had amputations, some were molested, and some had lost their parents in accidents and were only staying until relatives could come pick them up, which was anywhere between a few days to a couple of months, sadly. Each room had 2 sets of bunk beds for 4 children. The third floor housed rape victims. The east wing was long-term stay residents that were not ready to move back home. Most of the guests who stayed in the east wing would be there from as little as 1 year to as long as 5 years. The rooms were set up with 2 sets of bunk beds for 4 guests. The west wing of the third floor was for new and short-term rape victims. They were only there for up to 6 months. Some of the guests who stayed in the west wing were transferred to the east wing if they weren't ready to go home after 6 months. The rooms were set up with 2 full-size beds for 2 guests. Some of the rooms had families staying in them. They were single mothers with children. The fourth and fifth floors were set up for the amputees, separated by floor, male and female, respectively. Long-term and short-term residents were intermingled on each floor. The rooms were set up with 2 full-size beds for 2 guests. Some of those rooms housed families as well. They were single parents with their children. The guests who stayed as long-term residents, most of them either worked at the center in the kitchen as office assistants or therapy assistants. The other portion of them worked outside the center and left early in the morning. We had only been open for less than a year, and the Ansley Kirkland Recovery Center was already 3/4 full. Everyone was free to come and go as they pleased, as long as it was between the hours of 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. After 11, the parking lot security guard locked the doors and no one was allowed in. It was for the safety and comfort of our guests. Everyone abided by those rules, and so far, no one had a problem. Visitors were allowed every weekend for those who didn't leave the center on their own. Those who had work left for the day, and those who were afraid to leave alone enjoyed a nice breakfast. The kitchen staff rotated for each meal. The mothers prepared breakfast, the east wing prepares lunch, and the west wing prepares dinner. Everyone took care of each other at the center. We were like one extremely large extended family. "Good morning, everyone," I began once each guest had finished eating and they were just conversing at the tables. "I have planned a little field trip for anyone who's been having cabin fever. I would like to have a group of at least 20 join us for a little expedition. Those of you who are apprehensive about going out, remember, it is Monday and about 90% of the population is at work or school. As well as for your safety, I reserved the place specifically for us. So today it is closed to the public." The room erupted into cheers. I looked over at Jasper and he smiled at me. His loving eyes pierced my soul. Sometimes it was nice to get out of the center and get to know our guests personally rather than just by their situations. All right, the bus leaves in 2 hours, so let's get ready to have a fun day, I told them. Please see me to sign up for the expedition so I can have a list of names of who is going. Everyone rose, and those who wanted to join us lined up to put their name on the list. The others who decided not to go began cleaning up. Once their name was on the list, those guests headed off to their rooms. Jasper came over and wrapped his arms around me. His loving embrace enhanced my need for him even more. Oi. Woohoo! Thank you, Amy. Okay, let's see. You just saw my posts. Wait, what posts? Yes. I'm making sure that everybody can see it. My nose started to itch really bad. I think I had a hair on it. Oi. Okay. So far it's calm. It's nice. It's at that mellow. She's had such a crazy 2 days. Might as well have a nice relaxing Monday, right? You would think. All right, chapter 10. Chapter 10. Okay. I was able to convince 35 guests to join the field trip. Jasper and Jillian tagged along while Charlotte and Gabrielle stayed behind to keep an eye on the others and the center. I stood outside the bus with the clipboard, checking off names as they stepped onto the transportation. Once everyone was loaded, we began our trip. Amber sat in the front with Jasper and me, while the others piled into the back and acted as though they were in high school again. Their conversations would get a little loud every so often, and I would have to calm them down to preserve the driver's sanity. But I was glad to see everyone having a good time. Okay, everyone, listen up, I said, trying to get them all settled and focused on me just before the bus pulled up to our destination. We're heading to Moody Gardens. We will be exploring the rainforest exhibit, to which after the announcement, the bus erupted into cheers. As we rounded the last corner and pulled into the parking lot, everyone had something exciting to say about our expedition. Some said they had never been there before, and others said they hadn't been there in years. Amber appeared apprehensive, but with some encouragement, she was just excited to walk through the rainforest exhibit as the others. I exited the first bus, holding the clipboard with the list of names, and checked them off, one by one, as everyone unloaded. Jasper was the last one off, and we all walked up to the ticket booth. A young lady whose name tag read Karen stood in front of the booth. Under her name were the words tour guide. Hello, I'm Mackenzie Tully. We are from the Ansley Kirkland Recovery Center, I said, extending my hand to Karen. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen. I will be showing you around the rainforest today, she said, shaking my hand as she addressed the group. Our first stop is Southeast Asia. We followed her through a door, only to step into a larger indoor area with a food court and gift shop. I allowed Karen and Jillian to lead the group as Jasper and I hung back behind everyone to make sure the group stayed together. I was glad to see the whole group was having a good time. Even Amber was smiling, a genuine smile. As we passed through Asia and into Africa, my cell phone rang. That time, I recognized the number displayed on the LCD screen. Hello, detective. Tell me you have good news, I said into the phone. I actually do. We know who your mother is. We know your father's name, and we found Officer Lee. Only now she goes by Supervisory Special Agent Lee with the FBI, he told me. That is great news. I will be in tomorrow to discuss my parents with you. Also, is there any chance I can speak with Agent Lee tomorrow as well? I asked. Are you sure you don't want this information today? Rage asked, sounding confused. As a matter of fact, right now I'm on an outing with some of the guests from the center, and later I'm having dinner guests. It will have to wait until tomorrow, detective. What about Agent Lee? Am I going to be able to see her tomorrow? I don't know about Agent Lee. She's FBI and they're always busy. I guess I will see you tomorrow then, Rage said, irritated, before disconnecting the call. I relayed the information to Jasper, who seemed a little more enthusiastic about the information on my parents than I was. I was more excited about seeing Agent Lee again. She was my savior. I realized at that moment I never knew her first name. My mind wandered through the rest of the tour. I was physically there, but mentally absent. It was almost as though I had an out of body experience. I had forgotten about my parents over the years. I felt there was no reason to hope for two people who didn't give a shit about me to come back into my life. The one person I never forgot about was the uniformed officer who sat and played with me until child services came to pick me up. The night I had been abandoned, I slept at her house until social services could place me in a foster home the next day. It was the first time I felt love from another adult other than Auntie May. I never forgot about the time she saved me from the abusive home and all the visits she made to each group home. I stayed in each group home I stayed at until I met Charlotte and Jillian. She asked every time she visited how I was doing. When I told her about Charlotte and Jillian with a huge cheesy grin on my face, she said she was glad I found a place to be happy, and that was the last time I ever saw her. There were several incidences where Officer Lee would have me pulled out of class just to see how I was doing. If at any time I expressed any sort of dissatisfaction with the foster home I was staying at, within a week I was moved to a new one. I continued to think about Officer Lee periodically throughout my life, although less and less as I became older. As a matter of fact, I haven't thought about her. I hadn't thought of her for quite some time until Rebecca showed up. I had been so lost in my thoughts, I had completely missed the last country of rainforests on the tour. Once I finally rejoined reality, Jasper was asking if I wanted something to eat in the food court. Absolutely, I told him, kissing him on the cheek. Let me get everyone's attention. I announced to the center's guests. Oh, let me get everyone's attention. I announced to the center's guests. We are going to eat here. So go ahead and select a place to eat and enjoy. The food is on me, but if you want any souvenirs, that is on you, I told them. We spent another couple hours allowing everyone the chance to wander through the souvenir shop before it was time to board the bus to go back to the center. I stood at the entrance of the bus and checked off names on my clipboard, making sure everyone was still together. I made it to the bottom of the list and realized Amber wasn't with us. Jasper, we're missing Amber, I said, my voice wavering. Don't worry, Mac. We'll go back in and find her, he told me. I stepped up 2 steps onto the bus in order to speak with Jillian. Hey, we're missing Amber Harwell. Stay with the bus. Jasper and I are going to go back in and see if we can find her. No problem, Kenzie. I got this, Jillian told me. I stepped down off the bus, and Jasper and I walked over to Karen, the tour guide, and explained the situation to her. She guided us back through the exhibit, and we even checked the bathrooms each time we came upon one. As we walked through the last rainforest, my heart stopped for just a moment when I saw a body lying on the trail. Her back was facing us, and she was positioned so she was admiring the plants and flowers. I took note of that all of her limbs were still attached. I only felt slightly comforted, given the fact that there was a copycat butcher killer on the loose. Slowly, I stepped toward the body. The clothes she was wearing was the same outfit in which Amber had on when we had arrived. Her hair, on the other hand, had been pulled up into a ponytail, but at that moment was fanned around her head. As I approached, I knelt down and gently placed my hand on her shoulder. Within an instant, she rolled over and sat up, hugging her knees. I fell straight back onto my ass. I felt as though my heart stopped in that instant. Oh, Amber, what are you doing? I asked, placing my hand on my chest where my heart began beating began to beat again at a mile a minute. She didn't speak. She just stared at me with frightened eyes. Jasper came over and helped me to my feet. Amber, are you okay? He asked, presenting his hand to her in an attempt to assist her into a standing position. She hugged her knees tighter and moved away from his reach. She cried out in terror, screeching in a high pitched tone, almost as if she were a wounded animal. He backed away from her and looked over at me. I raised my eyebrows, wrinkling my forehead. He shrugged his shoulders, then left to get onto the bus. Come on, Amber. It's time to go now, I told her, assisting her to her feet. Is she going to be okay? Karen asked. She's fine. I just need to get her back to the center so she can be in a safe place, I told her. After a few moments of coaxing, Amber finally stood up and accompanied me to the bus. She clung to me as we entered the vehicle. We were on our way back home. I didn't understand what happened to Amber, but I hoped that a couple of private sessions would bring her out of her shell so she would start talking to me, or at least just talking in general. It was imperative to her recovery that she start voicing her feelings. She cried quietly on the bus the whole way back to the center. Once we made it back, Amber was the first one off the bus. She ran straight through the front doors and past the reception area. Jillian followed her, but I let her go and stood outside the bus and again checked off the names of everyone as they exited. As soon as each guest was accounted for, Jasper and I headed into the center to get ready for Auntie May's visit. First, I stepped up to the reception desk where Jillian was waiting with Charlotte. Hey, Jilly, can you schedule a private session for Amber Harwell to meet with me tomorrow morning around 9? I'm hoping for it to last about an hour and a half. Praying for a breakthrough, I told her. I sure will. Do you know what happened to her? Why did she lay down in the certain rainforest? Did she see something that triggered a memory? Jillian asked. That is what I'm hoping to find out. She still won't talk to anyone. Well, she ran past here in tears. She looked as though she was afraid of something, Charlotte informed. Book the session, Jillian. Charlotte, can you go to her room and inform her 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, please? I instructed without telling Charlotte about the situation. Jillian pulled up the schedule book on the computer and tapped away at the keys. As Charlotte headed off down the hall toward Amber's room, I was hoping I could get through to Amber. She had resided at the center for over a month without any progress or steps leading to her going home. The main goal of the center originally was to get guests comfortable enough to go back to their homes and live a normal life again. But after a couple of months of being opened, I realized we would have extended stay. We would have to extend for long-term residency for some guests. With Amber's mental state being what it was, I doubted she would ever leave. Oh, okay. I saw someone. Mallory Stone. Hey. Not sure if you saw my comment on TikTok. Your best friend was in Dwan's live earlier. Yeah, I saw that, Mal. I said, oh, that's fun. Yeah, oops, hold on. I almost muted Christy. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I saw it, Mal. She's a special one. She's doing what she can to see if she can't find me. If she knew, she would know that 90% of the time I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm not really paying attention to TikTok. I mean, I was on TikTok nonstop when Circus was on because, I don't know, I was addicted to that. That was more than I needed. I got way too enthralled in all of that crap. It's actually kind of nice. No, that's Mal. Oh, the best friend thing? Yeah, she's talking about. That's what she's talking about. She's talking about the Addams family. That's how I'm going to put that one. Anyway. I know she's looking for me. I know she is. And considering the fact that as crazy as she got the last time I blocked her, yeah, the last time I blocked her and she got super crazy, I'm kind of avoiding a lot of stuff. I've left lives because she saw me come in. So, yeah. A lot of the times, I just want to sit and watch. Me too. I am too. The only problem is, though, is the fact that that puts a little bit of a hey. That puts a little bit of a wrench, I guess you could say, in some of the other people. If it dies down on their side, their cult leader or their cult members will go into other lives and attempt to get information. This is why I'm a lot more reserved at this point when I say things about anywhere I'm going. I know what the county and the city says on their city ordinances, but I'm not going to say anything about the area where I'm going at all. I won't even mention any towns around me at this point. I want to stay completely away from anybody having any idea as to where I'm at. Because with it died down on their side, they're looking at everybody else. And as many times as I lagged for myself or froze on my end today, I don't know what they're screen recording or anything else. Exactly. That's exactly right, Amy. Yep. Because I talk about all the time, I go grocery shopping in Brenham. Most people who are from Texas or even the area that's close enough to Brenham knows that Brenham is the Bluebell Factory town. So they know that the Bluebell Factory is there because that's ice cream. Everybody knows about Bluebell ice cream. So that is the one thing. And I'm like, it's 8 minutes from my parents. Have I ever said where my parents are? Nope. Never said where my parents are. Yes. But the only reason why I've never mentioned where my parents are, except for saying that they're an hour from here, this new house is going to be about an hour from here, 8 minutes from my parents. No big deal. It could be any direction. From the town that I live in, literally an hour from here, is like 12 different directions. So, didn't hear your notifications. Were you not listening? Yeah, people are crazy. Yeah, not on live. Exactly. Exactly. That's why whenever I was talking about, I was like, ooh, I can drive now? Cool. But you're going to sit right next to my you're going to sit right next to my emergency brake because I don't have a little thing to hold my phone up. I usually slip my phone in the little thing. I'll put you right down here next to my leg. You can't see any of the surroundings or anything like that, whatever's around me. That's what I feel a little safer out here because there's nothing out here. And most likely, if anybody actually found this place, I'd be shocked. And Bluebell homemade vanilla. Oh my God. Vanilla or strawberry. I love the strawberry. That too, Amy. If anybody really wanted to find me, they would go through everything to try to find me. That is one of the biggest things. But, dude, that guy needs to shut up. Freddy Krueger has gone live 7 times since I've been sitting here. I keep hearing my phone vibrate. Not that he went live 7 times, he's just shared it 7 times since I've been sitting here. But yeah, I'm like, nope. Out here, this house is listed. So if they find the listing for this house, I mean, they could find it. GPS isn't going to be any help to them, I'll tell you that much. GPS will not be any help. GPS, especially if they're out near Houston, GPS will take you the wrong way. You'll get stuck and you're not even close. That's just how that works. If they're out near Houston, GPS does not bring you here. Yeah. So that is one thing. But if you're off of 290 and you come up, that's a little different. The GPS will bring you right to us. But it will have you miss the side dirt road. It'll have you go down further onto somebody else's property. And that's never a good thing. Because once you get down there, it's like, The neighbor, on the other hand, if you pull up into the driveway next to our private road, that neighbor will pull a gun on you. Yeah. He likes to come outside with his 12 gauge. What are you doing on my property? So, anyway. All right. I am on chapter 11. I am only reading to chapter 16 today. So, yeah, exactly. That's why I have a sign that says no trespassing. We're tired of hiding the bodies. But someone didn't want to put it up because he didn't think it was appropriate. And I'm like, then why did you let me order it? So now it's mine. People are crazy. Yes. Yep. I have a 380 and a 9. And I got no problem. But I will say that even though we had those things in the house when my son was growing up, we would die before we actually were able to get those unlocked and ready to go. Because there was a lock on the... You have the wrong numbers on your house? Well, I used 290. Okay, continue. Yeah, we have the lock on the trigger. We have the lock on the case. We have a lock on the case that the cases go into. Yeah, we beat. So I made sure of that. See, that's cool though. I would actually do that. I would put the wrong address out front so people wouldn't know it was me. The 9. Yeah, see, my 9, I'm a little scared to use because I have not, that's totally appropriate. I know. I have not used it enough, but the 380, ooh, the 380 I could do all day long. Yeah. I'd put the wrong number on the outside of the house just for people to be like, but my GPS says it's right here. That's not the right address. No, it is not. No, it is not. I have a light up sign that I put on a list on Amazon that comes with a bunch of numbers. I think I'm just going to put some numbers on there I think are fun. It just lights up. There's just numbers on there. I'm just going to put fun numbers on it. The GPS says so, and people know where to deliver things to. Anyway. Oh, see? Oh, yeah. But see, okay, so let me tell you this. So back up. What that road that's behind us that the nature preserve is on, for some reason the GPS, well, that's always a good idea too, to have cops in the family. For some reason the GPS wants people to go down that road. That is a private road. It actually has signs up that say that it's a county owned road. It's not totally county owned. It's literally owned by another couple and the county. So there's parts of it that's county owned and there's parts of it that are owned by the couple that have a house out there that take care of the nature preserve. But there are signs that say it's a county road. It is county owned because it is a nature preserve, and it says do not enter or no trespassing or whatever. But for some reason people still want to go down that way, and they'll go this way or they'll come up this way. In either way, they're going to get stuck because there is a giant dip that if you don't know about, you just go straight down into. When people come down that road, whether it be the county or the people who own it, they know enough to put the little thing out to go over that dip on both ends. So there's that. But my GPS still tells me to go out that way. Whenever I'm going to leave, if I put on my GPS when I leave from here, it tells me to go that way on that road where there's a fence line. So I can't go that way. So I have to go out this way and around before my GPS catches up with me and then goes, okay. Yeah, I know. I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. And I only know that because I talked to the couple who own that property. So, oh yeah, that's why I keep saying your GPS is not going to take you out here. And that's why I was telling the realtor we needed more signs out here to direct people here, because GPS does not tell you that. You can have it on listed online all you want, but when you want drive-by people, you know, sometimes there's people that are just driving around and they're like, "Ooh, let's go see that house." That's what I do sometimes. Shit, the house I'm looking at doesn't even have a sign out front. I only know that because I did a drive-by of it. I drove past it. I love it. I want that house so bad. It has the perfect. See, exactly. Whenever you see a sign up, it's like, ooh, I want to go see. I mean, you don't have to go inside. You just want to see the property and the outside and see what it looks like. And since now I'm looking at houses, I wanted to do a drive-by just to see what the outside of the house looked like. Yeah, and I had to tell her. I had to tell her to do the open house. I had to tell her to put up more signs. I had to tell her to do more advertising. I was like, dude, the house has been listed since September. September 9th is when the house was listed. We are still sitting on it. It's not even that expensive. And now properties are going really quickly. There was another house last weekend that I went to go do a drive-by past. It'd only been on the market since the 1st. Last Saturday, I went and drove past it. Within hours after I looked at it, it said went up for sale. Right? I love the kitchen in here. Other than playing, you know, ring around the island. Anyway, um, the island is the only thing that gets me, is because of, you know, Aria trying to get around me. See, and that was the best part about it too. So here's the deal. So these houses, the one thing that I think of is that you can order it or you can buy it right off the lot, have it delivered. You'd love an island. I hate the island. It's literally the only thing that I hate because I walk into it so much. I'll walk past and smack my hand on it. But that is the one thing. 666 is a fun number. Oh, but this isn't the house that is across the street from the church. If it was the house across the street from the church, definitely. I know the yard is gorgeous on it. That is the one thing that I will say. Hold on. Because I know that I showed it yesterday. Because on my phone, I can get it to where you can't see the address. And they dropped the price today. They dropped the price. Which freaks me out. But see, the yard. Do you live in Texas? See the yard. The yard on this house. There we go. Oop, there's the kitchen. The yard on this house. And then it's got, hold on. Let me see if I can find the other one. There are two like built-in patios. And I gotta go all the way to the back to find those. So it's got the front one. So there's this front deck here with that. That's the carport. I know. And then there is this side deck, and there's a pergola right there. And I'm sitting there thinking I could totally enclose all of this, the pergola included, with this deck, so Aria can go back and forth between that pergola and this part. I can sit way over here and she can go play over here. And it's like, oh, I need this house. I need this house so badly. It's perfect. And it's 8 minutes from my parents. And they just dropped the price. I know, right? Because she constantly, the area that we're at, a lot of property, oh, in Texas. But the area that she plays in right now is so small because she's constantly jumping on me. So I'm like, if I can get her from that porch area to go play in a whole nother area, right? That's what I'm saying. If I can have my parents closer, because I see my mom once a month anyway. She comes over once a month, and I'm like, if she's closer, they can come over more often. It's not an hour drive, it's 8 minutes. So, and I'd probably go over to their house more often. But anyway, I know. See, that is the one thing that I will say. And I like knowing that because my dad is 75 years old, if he ever needs any help, I'm right there. And no, I would never have him come over to help me. I'd rather have my mom do it. My dad, if anybody understands the reference, my dad is a Tim the Toolman Taylor. That is how my dad is as a handyman. Yeah. If you get that reference. What does that mean? You talking about the house? The house is listed. Okay, good. So mostly everybody understands that. Oh yeah. Yeah, the house is listed. It's just the realtor right now, we're trying to get her to do more to get the house sold. We do have an open house on the 21st, so that's nice. I'm hoping for that. But yes, I've had to ask repeatedly that I don't need my dad's help. My dad got very upset when I would not let him put together my son's changing table. He was very upset, so I had to stop and let my dad do it. I never put my son on it because it wobbled. It was not stable to put a newborn baby on. I had to do it to make sure. I was like, I can't change my son on a, yeah. You know what? I know she posted on Facebook at least once. Only because, Hayden is stalking. Hayden is stalking her on Facebook right now. But let me check to see if any of these are showing up as. See, even in the estimated sales range, we're still under the estimated sales price because it's only listed at $445. Let's see, where is that even on here? No, it's not on this one. Okay, so let's go back. Hayden is having a rough 2026. Let me put it that way. Oh, I know. Let's see, HAR. Let's try that one. I'm going to look. Does this one have. The one thing that I hate is the fact that she's never once mentioned that the 85-inch TV, that the 85-inch TV is going to be left with the house. That is the one thing. I know that some of these put up where it says open house, and it's not HAR apparently. Okay, so let's go back. It's not Zillow, not HAR, maybe realtor.com. I've looked at so many of these sites. Yeah, she's been having a rough 2026. See, even over here, 21 views and one save on realtor.com. That sucks. Nope, this one doesn't even have it. Where's the one where it asks if there's a, what is the site? There's some site that you can get on that you can say, yeah, yeah. I don't know who this guy is, but okie dokie. Some guy named Mark. Hey, I don't care. It's on HAR. Go ahead, Mark. Claim the property. That's probably the guy who's going to end up being. Oh, Hayden's my daughter in law. Yeah, Hayden's my daughter in law. Anyway, there's supposed to be an open house. I can't remember which site it is. Oh, I know. She's having a rough go of it. My son had surgery. So there was that. And then her grandmother passed last weekend. I think it was last weekend. And then today she said that she lost one of her best friends. So there's that. Hey! What's up, Danny? Hey, girl. We're just sitting here shooting the shit, and I'm supposed to be reading. But, yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, they were just asking where my daughter-in-law is. She's having a year already. It's only February after this open house. Oh, I know. I've already thought about that, Amy. If it doesn't have a good outcome of at least anybody looking at the house, I would be seriously like, we got to do something to gain traction, because it's been on the market since September, and every house I have looked at that went on the market around the same time is all sold. So I need this house to sell. And that includes houses that are priced around the same. But anyway, okay. So I am on chapter 11. I am reading to chapter 16. So we got a little ways to go. What time is it? Because she's asleep. Oh, good grief. It's 8:30. She's been asleep for a little while, so. I know. Time to go, lady. Okay. All right. Chapter 11. Since I had decided to deal with Amber the next day, I put her out of my mind, showered, and got ready for May's visit. I swept and mopped the front area as well as the dining area. Once all of our guests had eaten, I began cooking. I decided on chicken breast with wild rice, diced carrots, and tossed salad. Earlier in the day, Charlotte had caramelized some apples and mixed them with cinnamon for homemade apple pie. The sweet aroma filled the entire dining area. The scent must have made its way through the center when Jasper appeared in the kitchen doorway with his nose in the air. "Oh, honey, something smells delicious," he said, approaching me from behind. He wrapped his arms around my waist. I leaned back against him, and he pressed his lips against my neck. In that moment, I felt safe, as if we were the only two people in the world. The only thought swirling in my head was how much I loved Jasper. I wanted to stay in that moment forever. "Man, Mackenzie, dinner smells good. I can't wait to taste it," Charlotte said as she came barging in the room, ruining the moment. "Hello, Charlotte. How did everything go today?" I asked as Jasper pulled away from me and stepped out from the kitchen. "It was the same as every day. The ones who stayed behind came to the afternoon group sessions. We sat, we talked, they healed. Tell me what happened with Amber today," she cried. What do you know? I wondered. I talked to Wendy Mason, the one who lost her hand in the boating accident. Well, she told me that Amber freaked out about some plant and you had to go back in and get her. Charlotte sounded like a high school girl gossiping. Wendy Mason came to the center after she received her first prosthetic hand. She had lost her hand when her boyfriend had taken her out on his boat. He told her the engine wouldn't start and asked her to check the propeller. When she leaned over the back of the boat and pulled the propeller up out of the water, she noticed there was seaweed wrapped around it. She reached down to pull it off, and the propeller started spinning, severing her right hand. By the time she pulled it back, it was only hanging by five metacarpal bones and a few strands of muscle hanging on to the distal end of the radius and ulna. By the time her boyfriend got to her in the hospital, it was too late to save her hand. The nerves had been severed, and she no longer had control of her fingers. She had been at the center for quite a few months. Her boyfriend comes to visit her every other weekend, but every time he is there, they end up arguing and she ends up in tears. During our sessions, I tried to understand why they were still together. They were visibly no longer in love with each other, but for some reason still felt the need to stay together. I felt as though for her, she felt inadequate for anyone else due to her not feeling as a completely whole person, and for him, out of guilt. He blamed himself for her mutilation, and he felt as though it was his fault. The only reason she was still at the center was her lack of the ability to control her prosthetic hand. Wendy Mason is a gossip queen. She should really learn to mind her own business. Besides, I plan to get Amber talking when I meet with her tomorrow, and I'm going to find out what really happened. That poor woman has been through enough without some chatty Cathy spreading rumors, I said, picking up the roasting pan of chicken and heading toward one of the tables in the dining area. Charlotte followed behind me with the rice and carrots. The others had made their way into the dining hall as well. Jillian and Matthew had set one of the tables with plates, bowls, and silverware, all on top of a lavender tablecloth. It was beautiful. Has anyone seen May? I asked as I set down the pan of chicken. Jasper is in the reception area waiting for her, Gabrielle said. Maybe I should call her, I rebutted, retrieving my cell phone from my pocket. Give her a few more minutes. It's only a little after 6. Maybe she's running behind, Charlotte pointed out. Speaking of running behind, where's Tom and Mark? I asked. They're out front with Jasper, Jillian informed. Can I go hang out with the guys? Matthew asked Gabrielle. Sure, buddy, but come back when May gets here, she told him. Matthew ran off to the reception area and I looked at my watch. I wanted to call May and find out where she was. I didn't want the food to be cold when she arrived. The timer went off, signaling the pie was done, so I went back into the kitchen to remove it from the oven. The pie was perfect. Jillian made the crust while Charlotte worked on the apples. The woven strips that lay across the top were perfectly spaced, and the crust was a perfect golden brown. Everything was ready. We all we were missing was May. Before heading out of the kitchen, I decided to go ahead and call May. The phone rang about 8 times before her voicemail picked up. Auntie May, it's Mackenzie. I'm wondering if you're still coming for dinner. The food is ready. Please give me a call if your plans have changed, I said, after indication it had begun recording. Leaving the pie on the counter to cool, I rejoined the group in the dining area. The guys had come in as well, and everyone was sitting around the table. I joined them, staring at 3 empty chairs. Where is May? Are her kids still going to be joining us? Could she have possibly had a family emergency that was detrimental and she didn't have time, nor did she even think to contact me? I said aloud, not really looking for anyone to answer me. Mackenzie, go ahead and call May. Ask her if she's still coming, Jasper said, breaking my thought process. Actually, I did when I went in to get the pie out of the oven. I had to leave a message. She didn't answer, I told them. Maybe she did have something come up and she's not coming. Let's just get started before the food gets cold. I'm starving, Mark said. Oh, honey, you're always hungry, Jillian said, giggling. Only when the food smells this good, right? Tom said, lightly punching Mark's shoulder. You know it, Mark responded. Tom and Mark high-fived each other, then laughed. They looked like a couple of high school football jocks. Jasper just leaned back in his seat, trying not to engage in their immature foolishness. His adoptive parents raised him to be sophisticated. I was lucky enough to get him to act silly with me, sometimes. Go ahead and call her again. If she doesn't pick up a second time, we will assume she had something come up, and we will stop over there tomorrow after we go talk to Rage, Jasper said. Jillian and Charlotte looked at each other as I called Auntie May again. Still no answer. But that time, I didn't leave a message. All right, I guess we can dig in. Who's hungry? I said, swallowing hard in order to hold back the lump in my throat. I loved Auntie May like a mother, and I felt as though I was being reunited with her after being kidnapped. At that moment, I was beginning to feel abandoned. Again. What's going on with Detective Rage? Why do you have to go see him tomorrow? Charlotte pried. He said he has information about my parents. He also said he was able to track down Officer Lee. I told them, divvying out the chicken breasts. That's great, Kinsey. Maybe now you can find out some information about who your parents really are, Jillian said. I don't know if I want to know who they are. My father was gone before I can remember, and my mother abandoned me. Why would I want to know two people who didn't want to know me? I said. I felt like I had put my past behind me, and I was beginning to move forward in my life. Now I'm having to go back and dig up the past. So who's Officer Lee? Tom asked, shoveling a forkful of salad into his mouth. She was the responding officer who showed up when the front desk clerk at the hotel where my mother left me called to report a lost child. I also stayed with her until child services could take me into custody the following day. I explained as I pushed food around on my plate. I thought y'all were related somehow, seeing as you both have the same last name, Mark commented. My mother and Auntie May only ever called me by my first name. I didn't know what my last name was. I didn't even know I had one. So I asked Officer Lee if I could use her name. She said it was okay, and that is how I became Mackenzie Lee, I told them. Is that the same woman who came to see you a few times after you came to live with us? Charlotte inquired. Yes, and I was very upset when she stopped coming around. Detective Rage informed me, though, she is now an agent for the FBI. That could be why I never saw her again, I said. While we ate, the others talked amongst themselves as I went over my schedule for the next day in my head. Amber at 9, Rage at 10, then May after that. Just those three alone could take me all day. I was planning to sit with Amber until she talked. I wasn't going to let her leave my office until she explained herself. If Amber refused to cooperate, I would have to call Rage and push back the meeting with him. Of course, he will probably talk for a while, plus Agent Lee. By the time I go to see May, it would probably be late afternoon. Jasper must have noticed my faraway look. He broke my thought by reaching over and rubbed the palm of his hand across my back. I looked up and realized everyone was staring at me. Where did your mind go? Jasper asked. I was just thinking that if I could get a hold of Diamond or Jade, I could find out what happened with Auntie May. I responded. Who are they? Jillian asked. I don't think you've ever mentioned them before. Diamond and Jade are May's children. They were my only friends when I lived with my mother, I told them. Well, now you have us. I know you're concerned, but let's enjoy the evening, and you can find out what happened tomorrow, Charlotte suggested. You're right. So, Mark, how about you tell me about your day? I said, catching him off guard. Mark was the quiet one in the group. He was basically a people watcher. He didn't usually contribute to the conversation, but every so often one of us would include him, and he would just stare at everyone like a deer caught in the headlights. We all laughed, then moved on with random conversation. All right, I keep seeing y'all. Hold on. Ew. Awesome. I love that. Let's see. Yeah, so the beginning of this book will actually be posted on Friday at 10 a.m. So the first live that I did, and then this one's going to be posted at noon, and then tomorrow for the end, it'll be posted at 2. So I'll make sure that it all gets posted, which sucks because the first book I did on Rainbow the first day, but the internet was bad. And then I did on Discord the last 2 days. So I'll have to read that whole one and stick that in here somewhere too. So at least I can get the first one and all the rest of these. And I'm so glad you like my writing style. That's awesome. It gets better. I will put it this way. I have noticed that all of my books get better as I publish more and more. So there you go. My latest one. And then I have one that's coming out in March next month. Oh my God, it's not next month. My most popular right now is this one, Killer Suburbia. This is my most popular. But I mean, I know why. Of course, I wrote it, so I wrote it. I loved it. I'm still deciding whether or not I want to read that one as well on live this year, The Killer Suburbia. I actually might because I'm actually enjoying this. I love this. Oh, I know. It's the one thing that makes me happy is being able to write, and having all of this sit here next to me makes me even more happy. These are all the books I have published so far. So, oh yeah. Yep. It's literally the one thing that makes me happy is being able to sit here and mutilate other people. No, I'm just kidding. I have one that comes out in March. I've got another one that comes out next year. That's this one I'm getting ready to do the edits for. And then I've got one that comes out the year after that, and then the year after that. And then 2030 is one a month. This is the second one. So, oh yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. Now, Christy Jorgensen, you were there for Friendly Misfortunes, right? You were there on Rainbow when I read this one, right? This is the guy that taxidermies his victims and lives with them in his house. Taxidermy. That was one of my first. The taxidermy's a little weird because it's illegal to do in the United States, so I had to find a guy in Germany. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Had to find a guy in Germany that would explain that. I love that. I love that. Oh, Camara, we know you were. Camara was. I think Amy was in and out. But oh yeah. That was fun. That was the one that Camaro kept going, writers. I kept editing it because it was one of my first ones. Yeah. Oh yeah, Miranda was there too. All right. Okay. Chapter 12. I didn't sleep well that night. By the time we had all finished and dispersed to either head home for the night or for Jasper and I to go to our room, it was almost midnight. It took me about an hour to fall asleep, and I was awake every hour after that. By 5 a.m., I was ready to get out of bed and just start the day. I went downstairs to make coffee for the guests while the percolator was brewing. I went into the kitchen and scrambled a couple of eggs and buttered a piece of toast for my breakfast. Before anyone else came in to eat, I cleaned up and took my plate out to get coffee. I then headed to my office in order to mentally prepare for my meeting with Amber. As I sat down at my desk, I wrote down everything I knew about her, which wasn't much since she didn't speak. I only knew what the nurse from the hospital told me. I pulled up her electronic file on my computer, which also consisted of notes from Charlotte and Gabrielle from any time they ran a therapy session with her. Each guest had their own therapy notes from each therapy session. I had my own notes, which were separate from the others. I was the only one who could see everyone's notes. Charlotte could only see her own notes for each individual guest, as well Gabrielle could only see her notes for each individual guest. It was for the protection of the guests. At least once a month, I made sure the guests were that's too many times that guests on there. The guests were progressing by looking over the notes. I mostly determined on whether or not a guest living in short-term housing was moved into long-term housing or was prepared to get out on their own. From the most recent session, Charlotte wrote, "She's very withdrawn and unwilling to share. At times she just cries listening to the others share their stories. Other times she just leaves the room and never comes back. She's unable to express herself, which in time could cause emotional outbursts. I printed the page of Charlotte's notes. She could be right. Amber's inability to open up and share her feelings could have been the catalyst to her outburst during the rainforest outing. I was determined to get her to talk. Knowing that we had given her adequate time to come out of her shell, I moved on to Gabrielle's notes to see if she had any helpful information. Gabrielle, from her most recent visit with Amber, wrote, "Patient refuses to participate with the rest of the group. She's a daydreamer and has no desire to contribute. I have a- I have had to ask her to leave several times when her crying becomes dramatic and disruptive. No healing can begin if patient is unwilling to share." I printed Gabrielle's notes as well. Charlotte's notes were more helpful than Gabrielle's. There seemed to be a lot of frustration and anger from Gabrielle compared to the compassion and patience from Charlotte. I decided I wanted Charlotte to sit in with me when I talked to Amber. Around 8 a.m., I decided to call Auntie May again. The result was the same as the night before. No answer. I left another message asking her to call me. I had a thought cross my mind that possibly Rebecca had gone to visit May at her house and told her not to see me or talk to me anymore. I wanted that to be the only reason for why she didn't show up and why she wasn't answering when I called. I refused to believe that the copycat killer had done anything to harm her. I wanted to believe that when Jasper and I went to see her later, May would tell me that she was no longer able to have contact with me. I took a deep breath and pushed the thoughts of May out of my head. Since I still had 45 minutes before I was going to meet with Amber, I decided to have a visit with the resident gossip, Wendy Mason. I picked up the phone on my desk and buzzed her room. I was lucky she was awake and still there when she answered the phone. "Hello, Wendy. It's Mackenzie. Could you please come to my office? I need to talk to you," I told her. "Sure, I'll be right there," she said, and hung up. Within a few minutes, Wendy was knocking on my office door. "Come in," I said. The door slowly swung open, and Wendy popped her head into the office. I motioned for her to sit down at one of the chairs in front of my desk. "I called you down here to discuss your behavior here at the center. Something needs to change," I began. "Did I do something wrong?" Wendy asked. "Wendy, we need to talk about you gossiping about the others here at the center. It is unacceptable and juvenile. If the rumor gets back to the one you are gossiping about, it could potentially derail their healing, I told her as I leaned back in my chair. "Are you talking about the Amber thing? She's derailing her own healing by using the silent treatment," Wendy defended her actions. "You don't understand. That is how she is coping with the trauma of what happened to her. It's like the anger you had when you first arrived. You were unable to accept the fact that your hand was gone and you were angry at everyone who was trying to help you." "My hand was chopped off. What happened to me was life altering," she yelled. I held my hands up as if to surrender. I started to say something, but decided I would allow her to control her own emotions. Once she took a deep breath and lowered her tone, she continued, although her tone was still hostile. "What happened to her was just emotional. I got over my problem and accepted the new me. She has been here for at least a month and still has yet to accept her fate. First of all, you need to calm down. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you," I began calmly. "And second, everyone heals differently, and her healing is internal. You have been here far longer than she has and still have not been able to get past your vanity. She has emotional scars someone left on her soul. Tragic situations affect everyone differently, and you can't judge when someone is going to be well enough to talk about what happened to them. Everything takes time, and we just need to give her time and not make fun of her for having a panic attack in a public place. Please, just keep your gossip to yourself so the others don't have to endure the high school bullying tactic you are trying to bring to the center. This is supposed to be a facility of peace, not hostility," I lectured. "Fine," Wendy said, standing. "Wendy, I just want to make sure you understand that all I want here at the center is serenity and recovery. I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with your actions. Please watch what you say to and about others." She nodded and left the room. I hope she understood what I was trying to say and kept her comments to herself. I wanted her to go back to her room and think about what we had talked about, but I had a sinking feeling she was going to go around the center and spread more gossip amongst the guests. I gathered everything together that was necessary to discuss with Amber and rang Charlotte. I asked her to escort Amber to my office. Sure, no problem. Did you need any coffee? She asked. I could use another cup. Thanks. By the way, you wouldn't mind sitting in with me when I talk to Amber, would you? It would be nice to have an extra person to sit in, I said. I can do that, she agreed and hung up. I rubbed my face with my hands, trying to focus on my discussion with Amber, and push the thought of May out of my head. I was going to do everything I could think of to get her to talk. She was no longer going to be living in silence. Charlotte and Amber entered the office, and Amber immediately sat in one of the chairs in front of my desk. Charlotte shut the door, then headed around my desk and handed me a fresh cup of coffee. I sipped the steaming liquid, took a deep breath, and began. Amber, I understand you're having a hard time getting over what happened to you, but you can't continue the silent treatment. We are trying to help you, but if you don't talk to us, we can't get to the root of your emotions. Please, Amber, tell me what happened to you yesterday. I began. Her eyes filled with moisture and became red rimmed. She bit down on her lower lip and looked around the room. A tear escaped and rolled down her cheek. I placing her head in her hands, she began to sob uncontrollably. Charlotte and I stood and approached her in order to console her. Amber, I understand how hard this must be for you, but you can't retain a mute lifestyle, Charlotte told her. Amber took a deep breath, then spoke. I'm so sorry. I kept thinking if I didn't talk about it, then it didn't really happen. I wanted it to be a bad dream. I just kept hoping that one day I would no longer think about it. You can't hold on to that. It will eat away at you emotionally. Please tell me what happened at the excursion yesterday, I requested as Charlotte and I returned to our seats. Since you already know why I'm here, I will just tell you the small details no one else knows. When I went to the hospital, it was the third time this man had broken into my home and violated me. Every time he broke in, he would bring flowers into my home. As we passed through that one area of the rainforest, I could smell those flowers. It took me back to every time he had raped me, and I felt violated all over again. All of a sudden, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't focus, and I gasped for air. I passed out right where you had found me. I had just regained consciousness when you came over to me. So when Jasper attempted to assist me, I was still locked inside my memory, and all I saw was a man who wanted to harm me. Tears slowly ran down her cheeks as she spoke. Why didn't you go to the police the first time it happened? Charlotte queried. I have seen how other rape victims are treated when they report their assailants. Most of the time, nothing happens, and they spend their entire lives looking over their shoulder, waiting for it to happen again. I wanted to forget the event ever happened and thought I could deal with it on my own. When it happened the second time, I did go to the police and report it. The officer I talked to asked me several questions, had me look at some pictures, and talk to someone who made a composite sketch of the man who attacked me. He told me they would contact me if they found the man, and that was done. I never heard from the officer again. The third time, I knew I had to go to the hospital because they would immediately perform a rape kit on me and handle it with the police. I answered the same questions I was asked the previous time and again supplied them with a composite sketch. I still haven't heard anything about whether or not they have found the man who did this to me. I haven't spoken to anyone since I left the hospital and came here, but no one from outside the center has tried to talk to me. I felt like I was going to have to live my life looking over my shoulder every day, just waiting for it to happen again. That's why I never said anything. I figured if I just kept quiet, I could stay here. Amber revealed. I'm so sorry, Amber. I'm sorry about what happened to you, and I'm sorry you had to relive it over and over. I have a meeting with Detective Rage in about half an hour. I will ask him about your case and see if there's anything I can do to help find the sick son of a bitch who repeatedly violated you. I told her. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. I would really appreciate that. Amber expressed her gratitude. Now that you have found your voice again, we can help you overcome your anxieties and hopefully you can you can find your strength, Charlotte said, writing something onto a pad of paper she picked up off my desk. Throughout your next few sessions, we want you to talk about what happened to you. If some of the details are hard for you to say out loud, you can skip it. When you finally feel comfortable enough to say it, we want you to share. I think I can handle that, she said in a sort of half smile on her face. Thank you for meeting with me and opening up. You have made some real progress here today. Keep up the good work, I encouraged her as she left the room. Well, that was interesting, Charlotte said with a tone that said she didn't believe Amber. What do you mean by that? I asked. She made it up. This woman was never raped. She's she's here for something else. I'm going to figure out who she really is and I'll get back to you, Charlotte said, heading for the door. I can't believe you would say that. This woman is hurting, and you think she would just make up the whole thing? I'll prove it. Charlotte turned and left the room. I gathered some things together and headed off to find Jasper. It was time to talk to Detective Rage. Charlotte and her crazy theories. All right, let's see. May got one leg now. Yeah, everybody keeps trying to tap the screen. That's so funny. Yeah, easy to forget you're not on TikTok. I know. I think everybody's done that. I know. Coffee. I know. Charlotte and her crazy ways. Charlotte is always, she's always suspicious of everyone. But she has reason to be, and it's okay. All right. 13, 14, 15, and 16. I got 4 more chapters to go. No ice, and Arya's wandering. I may have to go let her out real quick. What time is it? Okay, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. I'm going to go get some ice and let the dog out because I don't want her peeing on my floor. If she's wandering, she's going to pee. So I have this weird thing where I actually check baby name lists and I go by whatever's the most popular the year that I'm writing the book. You already did, didn't you? Yes, you did. I see the footprints. So I went by a baby name list and whichever names were popular the year that I wrote the book. You say no messes. I said you already did. I can see the footprints. In the same spot I just cleaned up. I don't know why she wants to go there. I have no idea. It seems to be her favorite spot. Recently, with the last few books, I actually had watched. There's this woman on YouTube that was doing baby name videos. I've tried that. She'll go next to it because when we had Valentine and Kira was a puppy at the time, when I laid those pads down just for house training, Valentine claimed them and laid on top of them, and then Kira would pee right next to it. So now that's what she thinks she's supposed to do. I will say this much though. What I'm thinking about doing though is getting like one of those little the patch of grass thing that has that to see if she'll go on that. Because I think that might actually be easier for her to go on. See? Same mind. This is my life. Cleaning up after the dog. I could hear her wandering around. So, of course, the first thought in my head was, she's peeing on my floor, because that's what she does. Here she comes. Oh, and now she's coming back. Come on, baby girl. And then, of course, there's Minnie. She's trying to torment the dog. I think Minnie and Kira are about the same size. Okay, you need to go lay down, because I don't want you peeing in my house again. Okay, bye. I know she wants to come back over here. I'm just going to leave the hall light on. I know she wants to come back. She wants to come back here, but I don't want her peeing in my office. She's right outside the door. I got to, this weekend, she's going to get a little nice face trim, a little butt trim, and I'm going to clip her nails, because she's got to get that done again. All right. I got 4 more chapters to read. Very exciting. Very exciting. Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. You have a mouse hiding in your kitchen? I know. I can hear her nails, and it's like I can trim them down, but unless I file them, you can always hear them clicking on the floor. And I'm terrified to file her nails. Terrified. I will clip them as far as I can, because she has white nails, so thank goodness I can see the quick. But I will clip them as far as I can, and I figure as long as they're not curled into her pads, she's fine. They can click all they want all over the thing. I forgot I had this in my pocket. Your dog won't let you do that? So this is from Ari's car. She took, I guess, like a hubcap from the car, and it's small and it fits completely in her mouth. And I'm terrified she's going to choke on it. Well, she was chewing on it today, and I let her do it. She put it down and she took off without it. So I picked it up and stuck it in my pocket, because I'm afraid she's going to choke on it, having it in her mouth. And I forgot it was in my pocket. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to let you do that. Aria doesn't mind, or Kira doesn't mind. Kira actually sits up in my lap and goes like this, so I can clip her nails. She's okay with it. I know. I don't think that she would swallow it whole like that, but, like kids do. But yeah, I'm just terrified that she's going to end up choking on something. And my son choked on food for like every year for like the first 3 years. The first one was a peanut M&M. Yeah, exactly. It's not worth the risk. First time it was a peanut M&M. Then it was a mint from Sonic. And then the last time, I think it was a piece of chicken, because this boy decided that he had to eat his food really fast because he wanted to go play. So then he learned that if he made a choking sound while at the table, everybody looked at him. For a while, he would do that just to get attention. I'm like, don't do that. It's funny now because he's 26. It's funny now. But it was not funny then. When he choked on the peanut M&M, I think he was just under a year old. And yeah, I know. And then I had told my dad not to give him that M&M, but he did it anyway. So that's how that happened, because we didn't notice. My dad snuck it to him, so we didn't notice that he had it. Yeah. So, of course, my dad is telling my mother, my mother's on the phone with 911. My dad's trying to get it dislodged, and they're telling my sister to get me out of the room because I keep screaming at him, "This is your fault. This is your fault." And of course, I'm flipping out because my, 11-month-old is choking on a friggin' M&M. It came up. It was fine. Nothing happened. With the peppermint that he had, because he had taken a drink when he had that peanut M&M in his mouth, and that's what caused it to get stuck in his throat. I told him that he could not get a drink until he finished the peppermint. So he tried to swallow it whole. That's how he choked on that one. I managed to get it out because he was almost 2 at that point. So I managed to get that out, but still had an ambulance come by just to check him out because I freaked out. Ethan got a teddy bear out of that one. So he had the little teddy bear. And then the last one, it was one of those things where, he was an orange peel at a Chinese restaurant. Oh my God. Yeah, no, the last one he managed to get out all on his own, just with hitting him on the back and stuff like that. And I kept telling him, I said, your food is not going to run away. Slow down when you eat. Enjoy it. He said he wanted to go play. See, that's terrifying. When you're freaking out so much about these kids, yeah. I don't understand what it is about these kids. They want to. It is scary. Oh, I can just, and then an orange peel. Yeah. Having to dial 911 because your child is choking. For me, it made me feel like, I'm doing something wrong. Luckily, it's something that happens all the time, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, I was really ticked off that my dad snuck him a peanut M&M while we were eating lunch, mind you. We were eating lunch. I told him he had to finish his lunch before he could have the peanut M&M. Nope, my dad snuck it to him. My dad also learned, when I tell you don't give him chocolate, you don't give him chocolate. Because my dad, when I told him, I said, don't give him chocolate. He had chocolate cake. And he says, a little bit's not going to hurt him. And I said, okay, you have white carpet. Go ahead. I'd love to see you give him chocolate and not have to clean up the chocolate off the carpet. And he goes, what's he going to do, make a mess? And I said, nope, but you can find out. He was 14 months old. My dad gave him chocolate cake. And he projectile vomited all over their white carpet. And my mom goes, maybe you'll listen to her next time. Chocolate milk, chocolate cake, chocolate cookies, any of that stuff, for some reason, when he was little, would cause him to throw up. I don't know why. I have no idea. The doctor thought maybe he was allergic to chocolate. But I was like, but he can have chocolate candy. He just can't have cakes, cookies, or milk. We had no idea. Whatever it was, I don't know. Yeah. He had also done that. Let's see, he was about 13 or 14. Yeah, it was really weird. But yeah, he was about 13, 14 months old, something like that. And no, he had to be older than that because it was after the chocolate cake incident. We were at Denny's and he said he wanted milk. And I said, okay. And I told the lady white milk. And my friend goes, let him have chocolate milk. Kids love chocolate milk. And I said, he cannot have chocolate milk. And she goes, it's fine. It's not that much sugar, because they knew that he doesn't get that much sugar. I'm not giving him sugar. He's a small child who is hyperactive as it is. We're not giving him sugar. She goes, it's fine. It's not that much sugar. He can have chocolate milk. And I said, then you can clean up his vomit. And she was like, it's fine. It's not that bad. So she tells the waitress to bring a chocolate milk. My son chugged that little thing. No, my friend. I had a friend with me and she was like, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. He chugged that chocolate milk. It was just one of those little, like carton things that you get like in high school lunches or whatever. He chugged it and then projectile vomited all over the table. And I said, now you're going to clean that up because you're the one who told the waitress that that's what you wanted to do. And she goes, I didn't know that was going to happen. I said, I'm his mother. I knew it was going to happen. That's why I said, no, he didn't need it. Literally had nothing to do with the sugar content. It had something to do with the fact that this boy cannot handle it. I don't know. He's fine now. Like, he doesn't really care for chocolate now, which is funny. But I just assumed it had, I assumed it had something to do with my pregnancy, because anytime I smelled chocolate cake, ate any kind of chocolate, anything, mostly ice cream, it was just all back up immediately. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't think he can, but I would try it every so often. And that's exactly what would happen. So I learned, nope, no chocolate, cake, cookies, or milk. And that was it. Those were the only 3 things he could not have. I have no idea why. No, the doctor had no idea why. By the time he was 6, it was fine. If he wanted chocolate milk, he could have chocolate milk. It was fine. But for some reason, when he was tiny, I did. Oh yeah, I made my friend clean it up. The waitress was like, "We can move you to a different table." I said, "No, we're gonna sit right here. She's gonna clean that up." Oh yeah, I feel that, Amy. I love when people seem to think that they know more than you do about your own child. Yeah, isn't it great? So people are weird. That's why sometimes when people make suggestions about Aria, I'm like, no. Mm-mm. Like I've had people tell me all the time, you need to give her a blanket or a stuffy. Okay. You tell me how to do that. Because if she would take it, it would be amazing. Amazing. She doesn't. I know, poor broken Ethan. He's broken. He's okay though. Although we also found out, I think he was about 7, we found out he was allergic to freeze-dried meat. So they had those little cups like you can get with macaroni and cheese. Just add water and microwave, right? Well, they had those in Hamburger Helper. Just add water and microwave. Oh God. Yeah, that sucks. Every single time he had it, he would break out in a rash from head to toe, completely covered in a rash. Could not figure out why. After a couple of days of not having that, it would clear up. And then he'd be like, "Ooh, I want some of that." And I'd be like, "Okay." And I'd fix it for him without thinking about it. Next morning, he would wake up head to toe in a rash. I call his doctor and I'm going, "Oh my God, why does he have this rash?" But by the time we would get there, sometimes, by the time that we could get in to see the doctor, the rash is gone. So when I started taking pictures of it and showing the doctor, I was like, "Look, he's got a rash and we don't know why." And the doctor says it's got to be an allergic reaction to something. He said, "Is there anything different that you're feeding him?" And I said, "Not that I know of. He eats everything." That was the biggest issue. And I said, and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Those little cups of noodles." Ew. Yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, he kept saying the little cups of noodles. And I was like, "Cups of noodles?" Because I didn't think about it. And he's like, "Are you giving her ramen?" And I said, No. I said, "This is like a hamburger helper type thing." And he says, "Okay." He said, "Let me ask you a question." He said, "Is there meat in it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "There's a process behind freeze drying meat that he could be allergic to, whatever the processing is of that meat." He said, "So don't give him any freeze dried meat." I was like, "Perfect. What?" So we tested the theory. We got one of those MREs because my dad has them, military. And we got one of those MREs and had him eat some of that meat that was in there. Sure enough, head to toe rash. Boom. He's allergic to freeze dried meat. Something about the processing. Whatever. He was also allergic to ants. He got bit on his finger at recess. Yeah. He got bit on his finger at recess one time, and his finger had swelled up. But by the time he'd made it back into class, his whole hand had swelled up. By the time he had made it to the nurse, and the nurse had called me, it was going up his arm and it was almost to his elbow. All of this was completely swollen. He was 6 or 7, something like that. This poor kid. And I had called my mom because my dad's allergic to ants. My dad got bit by an ant on his cheek one time, and he ended up having this welt this big, and it swelled the entire side of his face till his eye was swelled shut. So I had called my mom, since my mom knows how to deal with this because of my dad. And she goes, "Just take him an allergy pill, give him a Benadryl, take him home." And I said, "Okay, no problem." So I told the nurse when I got there, I have to give him a Benadryl. He's going to go to sleep. So I'm just going to take him home with me. Yeah. I was just glad that I had somebody else that I knew about, being allergic to ants. He says he's not anymore. My son does. My son says he's not allergic to ants anymore. I wouldn't know. We made sure that the lawn was constantly treated so there weren't any ants. But yeah, I have no idea. My dad's been bit on the foot by an ant and his whole foot will swell up. I know, right? Like when he fell down the tree. So Ethan was climbing a tree. He went hunting with my dad once and he was climbing a tree. And my dad says, "Hey, don't climb that tree." He says, "You're going to hurt yourself." Well, Ethan thought he meant that tree. So he went to another tree. He goes to step on a limb to pull himself up higher to climb up this tree. The limb breaks and he skids down the entire side of his body down this tree. When they came home, I'm over at my parents' house, waiting for them to come home, and I'm talking to my mom, and my dad runs in before my son does and says, "Don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be mad." And I was like, "What am I going to be mad about?" My son walks in, completely scabbed down his face, down his arm, and most of the side of his body. And I looked at him. I said, "Boy, what did you do?" And he said, "I fell down a tree." I said, "You fell down a tree?" And he said, "Well, yeah, Grandpa said not to climb the tree." He goes, "I thought he meant that tree. So I went to a different tree and I climbed that tree." And I said, "Well, maybe you should pay attention when Grandpa says don't climb the tree. Maybe he meant all the trees." And he goes, "Well, I know that now." And my dad goes, "You're not mad?" I said, "He's a boy. He's going to hurt himself." And I said, "He's going to be fine. It'll heal. It's not like he fell and bumped his head where he got a concussion and all that stuff." I was like, "He's just got a little bit of tree rash." Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. And I posted it. I actually have a picture of this on Facebook so we can see this. So I posted it and I was like, "My poor baby's face." Hold on. Where are my photos? I posted it on purpose because it was friggin' hilarious. And I don't post a whole lot, so it won't be hard to find. Let's see. Do, 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 do. Just the puppy dog. Oh, there's his face once it started to heal. Oh, I know. That's his face once it started to heal. So it wasn't so bad. I mean, it wasn't that bad. This boy, if you actually look, you might actually be able to see the scar under his chin that he got when he busted his chin on a hardwood floor and ended up with a stitch in his chin to close it up. But oh yeah, the little baby, his poor baby. That's okay. Oh, and then not only that, but I know. Oh yeah, he was absolutely all boy. Not only that, but this is not the first monkey that we've come into contact with. So this is at a gun shop. Yeah, that's at a gun shop. This guy let this monkey just go see anybody. And no, I did not hold it specifically because of the fact that at that time I knew that it was not a good idea to do that. I don't know that monkey. They are not exactly, I mean, it's cute. Yeah. He was really sweet. Right. But we don't know the monkey. He's not exactly, they're unpredictable animals. So in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not going to hold it. But the way that Ethan is always about, "I love the animals." So, and because he held his hand out, exactly right. And you know what? That is exactly what got that gun shop shut down too, was because the guy with the monkey. It's in a county where they are illegal. Oh, and anybody want to see? That's my sweet Valentine. That chunky baby. That's why I want another calico. Look at how beautiful she was. Oh, my Valentine. I know, my sweet girl. Oh, here's something funny. I made her a cupcake for Halloween. She does not like anything in her hair. So, of course, she was like, "I don't like this on top." But she had a little cherry on top. She was a cupcake. She had a cherry on top. I had to take the cherry off. She did not like that at all. but it was cute. That's Kira. Oh, you can see the big fat baby. It's the way she's laying, by the way. Aw. It's the way she's laying that makes her fat, or made her look fat like that. Or at least that's what I like to say. I like to say that it was the way she. I like to say it's the way she was laying that made her look fat like that. I can't guarantee that because she was 18 pounds at one time. Yeah. She was a big girl. She was a big girl. But she also, if I was on the phone or talking to anyone else, she would scream until I picked her up and held her like a baby in my arms. Like literally on her back. Right? Yeah. I had to hold her on her back in my arms. And speaking of children, here, I can do this real quick. So there's the hospital picture. I know, she always looked so great. There's the hospital picture. And there's where he was 3. I love that picture. That's when he was still sweet. He was literally the sweet and innocent little boy. And then, and then he did this. If that tells you how little I post on Facebook. It's literally the next picture. So anyway, I know. He was a sweet boy. He was super sweet. He was super sweet. That is one thing I will say. Oh, and not only that, but Camaro, did you see what Rod posted on the picture of my house? He said all he could do is $20 and a pocket lint and half a bag of gummy bears. That's what he said about the house. Freaking Rod. Anyway, I gotta continue reading. Oh no. Oh, I know. When my son turned 13, I was so excited because, of course, it was on Friday the 13th. So I was super excited about that. But then I was like, where did time go? Where's my baby? The little boy that used to sit on the couch and cuddle with me when we watched movies. He only did that till he was 6. Then he sat on the way other side of the couch. I'll take the gummy bears, but he can't have the house. And the $20, by the way. I told him, I said, there'd be enough room for all your weird snakes. And the only thing that will chase you around here, if I can work my words correctly, the only thing that will chase you around here is the wild turkeys. So he doesn't have to worry about the boar that dug into his leg. But yeah, I never know where time goes. Kids just grow up so fast, and you're like, where's my sweet baby? Anyway. Yeah, Rod's so funny. All right. So now we're going to go on chapter 13. I love it. Chapter 13. All right, let's keep going. When Jasper and I arrived at the police station for the upteenth time in less than a week, I was more nervous about seeing Officer Lee again. It was almost as though she was a long-lost family member and we were finally going to reunite after all these years. I wondered if my nervousness stemmed from the fact that I wasn't sure if Lee felt the same and I was just going to walk into a room filled with tension and disappointment. I have a lot of information for you today. Ooh, excuse me. Are you mentally ready for this? Rage asked the second we stepped through the doors of the police station. Absolutely. It's been a long time coming. I need this for my sanity, I told him. I have something I need to talk to you about first. Sure, what is it? Rage inquired as he led us back to a meeting room. There's a guest at the center, Amber Harwell. She was beaten and raped a few months ago, and I was wondering if you could look into her case, just to see how far the investigation is going. Have you arrested anyone? Stuff like that, I requested. Sure. What did you say her name was? Rage asked nervously. Amber Harwell. Okay, well, there is one person who would like to be here for you when you receive the information I have for you. Rage said, have a seat and I'll be right with you. Jasper and I chose two seats next to each other on one side of a 15-seat table. My one good leg was bouncing with anticipation to see Lee again. I hope she remembers me, I told Jasper while we waited. She visited you as you grew up, and she agreed to meet with you. She must remember you, he said. I guess so, I said, feeling pessimistic. The door opened and Rage entered with Lee. She still looked the way I remembered her. It was as though she had never aged. I remembered her dark hair was usually pulled up into a ponytail. The first thing I noticed was her hair. Was now cut to about shoulder length, and she was dressed in a gray pantsuit with a red silk blouse rather than her police uniform. But her face was the same. She had sharp cheekbones, her nose was slender, and her chin had the perfect curve along her jawline. She had aged gracefully and was still as pretty as I remembered. Hello, Mackenzie, she said as she approached the table. Officer Lee? I practically whispered as I stood, slowly. My eyes welled up with tears, and a single droplet of moisture escaped and ran down my cheek. Hey, sweet girl. I know you've had a hard year. I wish I could have been there for you, she said, reaching out to hold my hands. I nodded and burst into tears. Lee wrapped her arms around me in a comforting embrace. I felt as though I had reverted back to the 6-year-old I was when she came to rescue me. With her arms wrapped around me, I realized how much I was longing for a mother figure. I didn't want the mother who abandoned me. I wanted someone who had always been there for me. At the moment, at that moment, I didn't know if I needed that person to be Officer Lee or Auntie May. Mackenzie, it's going to be all right. Please don't cry. If my memory serves me correctly, I never could understand you when you were crying. Take a few deep breaths and relax, Lee said, pulling away from the embrace and wiping my tear-stained face with her thumbs. I sniffed hard, sucking the leakage back, and smiled. We sat down, and she held my hand across the table. Rage presented me with a box of tissues. I pulled a couple out and at waved them at him as a thank you gesture. So I hear you're an agent for the FBI now, I said to Lee after a few deep breaths, dabbing my face with tissues. That's right. I was promoted several years ago. The last time I saw you was right before I was to be transferred. The Bureau moved me out of state and has kept me pretty busy. When you told me about Charlotte and Jillian, I knew you were going to be okay. The caseload is huge in the FBI, and I want you to know I have thought about you every day. I tried to call you several times, but your foster parents refused to let me talk to you, Lee told me. You're talking about Jean and Larry. They hated me. I'm sure they still do. Charlotte and Jillian still talk to them, but to me, their house was just a stop off until I could afford to live on my own. I was quarantined to my room on my birthday, and I wasn't included in any other celebrations. It doesn't surprise me that they would take away everything that would make me happy, I told her. I called because I wanted to tell you. I called because I wanted to tell you why I left and check on you. I would call at least once a month the entire time you lived there. When you turned 18 and moved out of their house, I was told to never call again, and neither one of them would give me your new contact info. Jean said she didn't have any information as to where you were, and Larry said he wouldn't be surprised if you were on the streets, Lee explained. Jillian was her golden child. She was lucky enough to have been adopted as a baby. Charlotte was under the age of 10 when she went to go live with them, and they had parent rights, and they had parents' right before that. Hold on. Let me reread that. Charlotte was under the age of 10 when she went to go live with them and had parents right before that. Okay. She wasn't corrupted by the system when they got her. I, on the other hand, had bounced around from foster home to foster home and was already a teenager by the time I had arrived at their home. I was damaged goods, I told her. I thought about you every single day. I have never forgotten about you, Lee explained. I was upset when you stopped visiting, but I understand, I told her. You know, the reason why I went to your school to see you was because when I contacted your foster parents about coming for a visit, they told me you were having trouble adjusting and that it would be best if I no longer had contact with you. I didn't want to tell you I wouldn't be coming around anymore because I was moving if you were having a difficult time adjusting. So I just asked how you were doing. I knew those people hated me. I was treated differently than Charlotte and Jillian. They got everything and I got nothing. Well, Detective Rage filled me in on the Butcher case. How have you been doing? Other than the fact that my left leg is now an accessory I have to put on every morning before my pants, I have a loving husband, and Charlotte and Jillian are still a very big part of my life. Officer, I mean, Agent Lee, this is Jasper Tully, my husband. I introduced him to Lee. It had been the first time I had acknowledged Jasper since she had entered the room. Please, call me Faith. We are adults here, and I am not here to work the case. The Bureau uh, wouldn't let me anyway. Conflict of interest. I told them you were family. When she smiled at me, her face practically glowed with a loving warmth. It was the kind of smile a mother would express. I smiled back. This was the motherly love I needed. Faith, even when all of this is over, can you please still call and check in on me? Absolutely, Kenzie. I have always thought of you as family, she said, embracing me in another hug. I have a great idea, I said, turning toward Jasper. How about we take Faith with us when we go check on Auntie May? Jasper nodded and placed one hand on my shoulder. Remind me who Auntie May is? Lee said. She's the woman I was dropped off with every day up until the day my mother decided to abandon me, I explained. Are you talking about May Clifton? Yes. You know her last name? She contacted us shortly after we began the search for your biological parents. But we can talk more about that later. Is she sick or something? I asked. Lee asked. She was supposed to join us for dinner last night, but never showed up and hasn't been answering her phone. We were going to stop by this afternoon and make sure she was okay, I told her. Maybe you should go with Agent Lee, Jasper told me. The two of you catch up after all these years, and I will just go back to the center and check on things there. Are you sure you don't want to go with us? I'm overwhelmed with everything going on in my life, and I'm not sure how to handle all of this, I told him, tears building in my eyes again. Sweetie, you haven't seen her since you were in high school. I will be there when you get home. I promise. I will always be there for you. Besides, the killer is targeting women, and I can keep an eye on the guests at the center as well as Charlotte and Jillian to make sure they are safe while you are with Agent Lee, he told me, standing and heading for the exit. I understand. You make sure everyone at the center is safe, and I will see you later. I love you, Jojo, I told him as he kissed my forehead. I love you too, Mac. Agent Lee, please take care of my wife and keep her safe, Jasper said. I won't let her get into any situation that could be potentially dangerous, Lee told him, shaking his hand before he left. Now, Mackenzie, I would be absolutely honored to have you introduce me to the woman who tried so hard to foster you. I remember May Clifton. She went through all the classes, jumped through every hoop there was to become a foster parent. She even tried to help us track down your biological mother, Lee explained. Wow, I didn't know all that. I knew she tried to foster me because she told me the other day when we visited her. But she never told me about finding my mother. I didn't know anyone was even looking for her, I said. When you were a child, no one wanted to tell you your mother was going to jail, Lee told me. Jail? Why would she go to jail? I inquired. Child abandonment, child endangerment, child abuse, Lee listed. When I was 6, I figured maybe parenting classes like some of the other kids' parents I met in a couple of the foster homes. When I was a child, jail never crossed my mind, I told her. What that woman did to you was completely illegal. She was going to pay for what she did, Rage chimed in. from the back corner of the room, his arms crossed over his chest. If that were true, I wouldn't have some woman harassing me now as an adult. Apparently, she was never found, I told him. Are you aware of what statute of limitations is? Rage asked. I know that certain crimes have a time limit in order to charge the perpetrator. What does that have to do with this? I wanted to know. Your mother could have faced anywhere between 2 to 20 years in prison, along with a hefty fine if she had been apprehended within 5 years. Unfortunately, she was able to cover her tracks, and once you had turned 12, no one was looking for her anymore. Rage went on. Did you find that information in your research? I asked Rage. Yeah, sure, Rage said, rolling his eyes like an ornery teenager. It is my job to know the law and to know as much as I can about people I serve and protect. I was able to find a lot of information on your case. You would think that the responding officer being promoted to the FBI, the files would be a little harder to get into, but that wasn't the case. Your file is still labeled as an open case. It doesn't even show that your mother was ever located. I did what I could to find her in order to retrieve historical information about you. We were able to get your birth last name from May Clifton. I discussed with social services about your last name, and we had come to the conclusion that it was in your best interest to just leave it on your paperwork as Lee. We felt that changing it after you were given the choice to pick your last name could potentially create a problem, so we were willing to avoid the whole situation, Lee informed. I appreciate that. If someone would have told me that my last name was Sims after even just a few days of being in foster care, I would probably have had a total meltdown, I told her. You know, we were able to connect Rebecca Sims and Rebecca Carter to being the same person. She had two children under the Carter last name. Who's to say that you aren't, in fact, a Carter? Rage said aggressively. If she was living under the Sims last name when Mackenzie was born, her last name would be Sims, Lee told him. I don't care what last name my mother was living under when I was born. I'm neither a Sims nor a Carter. I was known as Mackenzie Lee for the important parts of my life, and that is who I was. I'm now Mackenzie Tully, and I was able to choose my family name. I no longer want to talk about this. I'm done discussing the woman who never wanted me. I never met my father, and I'm certain she made sure he didn't know about me. But once the story about an abandoned child and my mother's name was revealed, you would think that the man who could possibly be my father could have come forward and tried to get to know me, I declared angrily. You know that once you made it to adulthood, you could have taken the initiative to attempt to find your father. If he didn't know about you, he might have actually appreciated it. Rage stated. It doesn't matter. Mackenzie, you got to spend your life choosing who you wanted your family to be. No awkward family gatherings, no strained holiday dinners. Everyone loves you for who you are because y'all decided to be in each other's lives. Lee comforted me. Right now, I feel like my life is falling apart, I told her, placing my head in my hands. Would you like me to just take you home? Lee asked. You can go be with Jasper, and we can postpone the trip to May's house. No, we need to go check on May now. I'm worried something bad may have happened to her, and I need to make sure she is okay, I said, rubbing my face, then standing. When you go, make sure you inform me if you run into trouble. I am still the lead investigator from the Butcher case, and the copycat killer is still in my jurisdiction, Rage said, as though we were purposely not including him. No problem, detective. We will make sure to contact you if we need a man to come to our rescue, Lee told him as we headed out of the police station. Lee and I left the station and headed out to her rental car. I gave her directions to May's house, and she pulled out onto the street. The ride was basically silent. I peered out the passenger side window and thought about what I would say to Jasper when I got back to the center. Auntie May's townhome was located in a gated community. We pulled up to the call box and tried contacting May. Lee pressed the buttons on the keypad to call into May's house. When she didn't answer the call, we followed another resident into the gate. The homes were settled in neat rows with the only windows in the front and back of the homes. They were patterned with different colored brick for each home. Red brick, gray brick, brown brick, white brick, and repeat. Oh, that's a tongue twister. We drove through the alleyway of a parking lot between the rows. Each one had a small front yard and a walkway to the front door. Lee found a spot to park at the end of the row where May's house was located. We exited the vehicle and followed the walkway to May's front door. Lee reached for her gun and pushed me behind her, when we realized the door to May's townhome was slightly ajar. Auntie May, I said as I stepped over the threshold behind Lee. There was no answer, and there was an awful stench in the air. Gun drawn, Lee led the way through the house. The living room and the kitchen were clear, so we headed up the stairs to the loft and the bedroom area. The stench became stronger as we ascended the stairs. Auntie May, I called out again at the top of the stairs. Still no answer. Lee headed to the guest bedroom, and I split off and went into the master bedroom. I opened the door, and what I saw would haunt me for years to come. I love the way my chapters end. Whoo! And soothing you to sleep. Ah. Well, it's about to get real exciting, let me tell you that much. At least I'm not yawning as much today. I made sure that Aria let me sleep until about 10. I mean, not to say that she wasn't playing on the bed, but I did give her something to play with. I had, wake up! Wake up! Crazy shit's about to happen! Especially when the chapter ends that way, right, Miranda? No, the chapter can't be over! What happened? That's the end of an episode. Now we gotta get to the next episode. You gotta wait till next week. No, I'm just kidding. I still have 3 chapters to read, so you're good. All right. And it gets right into it, by the way. Streaks of blood plastered the ceiling and the walls. May's dismembered body lay lifeless throughout the room. It appeared as though her limbs had been ripped from her torso. Her decapitated head was set at the foot of the bed at the site of amputation, and the blood had drained out and pooled on the comforter. The expression on her face suggested she had been alive just before decapitation. Good. I screamed as high as my vocal cords would allow. Oh, good Lord, Lee shouted as she stepped up behind me. She pulled out her cell phone and called for backup. This is Supervisory Special Agent Lee with the FBI. I need police and the medical examiner to the Palm Oaks Townhome complex. She gave the address and hung up. I couldn't move. I looked around and remembered Malachi's neighbor, Brooke Kendall. Her body parts were scattered throughout her house. At least May was contained to one room, and my eyes scanned the gruesome scene. I spotted the photo. Lee stopped me when I started moving into the room. Wait, until the scene has been processed first, you don't want to compromise any evidence the killer may have left behind, she told me. I only nodded, then backed out of the room. As we waited for the crime scene investigators, the others who were dispatched to the scene, I looked around and made sure that all of her was in that room. Her torso had been placed on a pillow and propped up against the headboard. Her arms and legs, one limb in each corner of the room, were sitting up with hands and feet at the top. Each of her body parts were accounted for and in that one room. The only strange detail about the situation was the fact that there was blood everywhere in that room, but not on any of the body parts. The ceiling had cast-off streaks, probably from the swinging of the weapon as he hacked her apart, and the walls looked as though he played with the blood and painted it on. Each part of her body looked as though the killer took the time to wipe any blood off and cleaned her up. Lee led me back downstairs as we heard the sirens blaring down the street. Rage was one of the first detectives on scene. Mackenzie, are you okay? He asked, apparently noticing the horror on my face. Lee wouldn't let me wouldn't let me in the room to see the photo. I saw it. I know there is one in there. May was the only mother I really had. I just found her again, and this psycho took her away from me. Who is he going to take from me next? Jasper? Charlotte? Jillian? I just got back into contact with Faith. Is he going to take her from me now, too? I don't know how much more of this I can take, I said, tears streaming down my face. How about Lee takes you home and you can come by the station tomorrow and we will go over anything we find with you. Bring Jasper along for support, Rage suggested. You're going to want to spend as much time with your family as you can while you still have a chance. What do you mean by that? I asked. I'm just saying. Life is unpredictable. You never know when your time is up. Rage placed his hand on my shoulder, and it sent unsettling shivers through my entire body. I nodded and slowly backed away from him. Lee led me out to her car parked in the lot. I stood outside the vehicle for a moment. I just couldn't leave Auntie May like that. I was horrified at the thought that the medical examiner was going to put all of her parts into a bag without caring how they go together. I turned and ran back to the house. Can you make sure they put her back together? I asked Rage as soon as I approached him, keeping a safe distance away from him so he couldn't touch me. I will make sure she is transported in one body bag and treated with the utmost respect, he assured me. Thank you, Detective, I told Rage. He stepped toward me and reached out as though he were trying to hug me. I backed away from his reach and headed back outside. Lee was waiting in her vehicle, and I rejoined her in the parking lot. I climbed in the passenger seat, and she headed off to return me to the center. Are you going to be okay? Lee asked me. I have a great group of people at the center I can talk to. I'm sure I will be fine for now, I told her. All right. Well, I guess I will see you tomorrow at the station then. We can meet and go over the evidence together, she said as she pulled into the parking lot of the center. Please stay for a little while. I don't know what could happen tomorrow, and I don't know if I could handle losing another important person in my life, I told her, exiting the vehicle. Okay, but only because I want to meet this amazing family you have chosen, Lee said, laughing and stepping out of her car. As soon as we walked through the doors, we saw everyone hanging around the reception desk. I walked up to Jasper and wrapped my arms around his neck in a loving embrace. He placed his hand on my hips and kissed me on the top of my head. You must be FBI Agent Lee. I'm Charlotte. This is my husband, Tom, the one in the chair. That's Jillian, and the gentleman next to her is her husband, Mark. We are great people Mackenzie has chosen as her family. Charlotte took charge of the introductions. Well, hello, everyone, Lee said, but please, call me Faith. So what happened with May? Were you able to talk to her? Jillian asked. Unfortunately, there was an accident before we had arrived, Faith began. An accident? What kind of accident? Charlotte wondered. Well, we went into our house, and when we got there, someone had already been in the house. Faith vaguely explained the situation. The killer got her first, I said, as tears burned in my eyes. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, Jasper said as he hugged me again. I saw the photo that was left for me. It was on the floor, almost under the bed, directly below her head. Faith stopped me from going into the room to see it. Rage told me we could stop by tomorrow. He wants both of us at the station, I informed him. You can go first thing in the morning. For now, tell us what happened to May, Charlotte insisted. This is still an open investigation. There isn't a lot of information available right now, Faith said in her official FBI tone. I'm just going to tell them what I had seen, I informed Faith. She nodded, and I began telling them everything, from the horrified look on May's face to the placement of her limbs. As I described the bedroom to them, I came to realize something. The door to her room was in the center of the wall, was in the center of the front wall rather than off to the side like most bedrooms. When I opened the door, the first thing I noticed was her face at the foot of the bed. One arm was in the far corner to the left, and one leg was in the far corner to the right. There was one leg in the corner to my left and an arm in the corner to my right. Each limb was straight up in the corners, with either the hand or the foot at the top and the site of amputation on the floor. It was as though he had meticulously thought out the placement of each appendage before he killed her. It was eerily calm as I described the scene. Tears were rolling down my face. Are you sure you actually saw a photo? Jasper said. I'm sure I saw it on the floor, but no one would let me in the room to look at it. I don't even know if it was one, I told him. Could it possibly have just been a piece of paper? Charlotte speculated. No, no, it has to have been a photo. The killer is leaving me clues as to who he or she is, and I'm not able to figure it out. This could be the one photo that brings this person's face out of the darkness and into the light, I told them. Why does Rage want you to wait until tomorrow? Why wouldn't he let you see it? Or even just tell you if it definitely, or just tell you if definitely there was one? Damn, Jillian asked. They have to process the scene first. Second, I'm sure he would prefer Mackenzie to have Jasper there with her for support, since the messages on the photos have become more threatening, Faith told him. How about we all go out tonight? We can try to forget about the evil in the world and just concentrate on the newlyweds and their lives together, Jillian suggested. That's a great idea, I said, wiping my face with my hands. So where are we going? Charlotte asked. How about everyone go home, get ready, and meet back here in an hour, Jasper suggested. You got it. We'll see you in an hour, Jillian said as she led Mark toward the door and was followed by Charlotte and Tom. All right, Mackenzie, y'all go have fun. I'll see you tomorrow at the station, Lee said. You're not going to join us? I asked. No, I'm going to go back up to the police station and see if I can look at the evidence they have collected on this copycat. Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes can see something they haven't noticed. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you have done for me, Faith. I'm so glad you were the one who responded to the call that day I was found in the hotel, I told her as I hugged her. I'm glad you are still that sweet little girl I found that day. She cupped my face in her hands and continued. I want you to remember the one thing I told you when you were dropped off at the first foster home. This card has my phone number on it. If at any time you need to talk or just need someone to listen, oh, yeah, okay. Just ask, and I'm sure someone can help you dial the phone. We both laughed as she handed me her business card. I walked her to the front doors to the center. She embraced me before leaving for the night. Jasper and I headed to our room. He sat down in a large, oversized chair next to the window that overlooked the garden. As I headed off to the bathroom to shower and freshen up to go out, I chose a knee-length, low-cut V-neck, backless black dress with spaghetti straps. My shoes were open-toed with a strap around my ankle and a 3-inch heel. Hubba hubba, sexy lady, Jasper said when I appeared in the doorway. I felt the heat on my cheeks as I began to blush. I smiled and walked over to my vanity to apply my makeup and fix my hair. Jasper stood, walked over, and kissed me on the cheek on his way to change his clothes. Once we were done, we headed out. As we walked to the reception area to meet the others, we heard a blood-curdling scream. Both Jasper and I turned to see Amber running down the stairs into the reception area. She was covered in blood. Amber, what happened? I asked as she stopped in front of me, her eyes wild. I found Wendy. She's dead. Dead in her room, Amber screamed. What? I said, more confused by what she had said rather than asking her to repeat it. I stepped past her with Jasper right behind me and headed up the stairs towards Wendy's room. I had not prepared myself enough for what I was going to see. More carnage. Oh, I love it. All right. It's almost 10 o'clock. It says it's 60 degrees outside. I'm excited. No. Hey, I still have two more chapters to read, 15 and 16. So we're going to get these going. We got to get these chapters out. Hopefully it calms down before I stop for the night, right? Stop finding bodies, damn it. I'm just saying. Wendy Mason was lying across her bed sideways. Her left leg had been amputated, which was consistent with the butcher, except this time she was murdered in her own room and left to be found. The copycats seemed to be adding more horrific methods to each murder. Wendy had not only lost her leg, she had also been disemboweled, and her intestine had been wrapped around her left thigh like a tourniquet. As I stepped into the room to get a better look at the extensive mutilation, I noticed her throat had also been slashed. The neck wound was so deep, she was almost decapitated. Go down to the reception area and keep an eye on Amber. Don't let her leave, I told Jasper. With shaky hands, I reached into my clutch for my cell phone and dialed Agent Lee directly. I knew she would inform the right people. I headed back down to the reception area where Jasper was containing Amber. He was standing over her as she sat on the bench in the foyer. Amber, what happened? You are covered in blood and the police are on their way. Tell me what happened and I can help you, but you have to tell me the truth, I told her as I sat down beside her. I was walking past her room when I noticed the door was cracked open, and I called her name. When she didn't respond, I pushed the door all the way open and noticed her on the bed, motionless. I thought at first she was sleeping, but why would her door be open? So I walked over to check her pulse. That's when I noticed her throat had been cut. And that's when you heard me scream. I got out of there as fast as I could, Amber said, with almost no emotion. She sounded as though she were reading something. I attributed her reaction to shock. Considering the fact that she wouldn't talk for months after being admitted for rape, I assumed this was her way of coping with death. I couldn't What I couldn't understand though was why the first thing she noticed was the fact that Wendy had her throat cut and not the fact that her intestine was hanging on the outside of her body. Why were you walking past her room? Your room is on the third floor and Wendy's room is on the fourth floor. You shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have been anywhere near her room, I told her. I decided to go for a walk, but I decided to just walk around the building instead of going outside, she replied. Her explanation seemed made up, but I couldn't prove she was lying. Within minutes, Rage arrived with Agent Lee and almost half of the police force. Jasper, Mackenzie, could you please bring all the guests down to the dining area? Rage instructed. Make sure everyone is accounted for. If anyone is missing, I want to know about it. Most of the guests had already gathered in front of the reception area due to Amber screaming, so it wasn't too difficult to round them up. Jasper went around to all the rooms to inform the guests who were still in their rooms and check the other rooms to make sure we didn't miss anyone. I printed a list of all the guests that were currently housed at the center and checked off each name as they entered the dining hall. Once everyone was settled in, the officers divided the children and the adults into 3 separate groups. It took quite a bit of persuasion to convince the parents to allow the officers to take their children. 3 officers were in charge of looking after the kids, and 6 were assigned to question the adults. The children were taken into one of the therapy rooms, and one group of adults were taken into the other therapy room. Jasper and I stood in the reception area with Lee. She asked us questions while Rage took a couple of officers and the medical examiner up to Wendy's room. So tell me what happened here, Lee asked me. I have no idea. I'm not even sure myself as to what happened. After you left, Jasper and I went to our room to get ready to go out with the others. Once we were done, we came out here to wait for everyone to meet us, I told her. You got dressed up and started to leave. What made you stop? She asked. We heard Amber scream and she came running down the stairs yelling about Wendy Mason. Jasper and I left Amber here to go up to the room and found her dead. I told Jasper to watch Amber while I called you. I told her. Your night out may have to wait. Your guests might need grief counseling and reassurance that they are safe here, Lee told me. Oh my God, you're right. We could lose some of our residents because of this. I need to make sure the center is safe for our guests. This is why they are here. This place is supposed to be a safe haven. It's all my fault. I'm the reason this killer is out there now. Is out there, and now he has come to my into my home. I have to take care of this before someone else gets hurt, I told her, pacing back and forth in front of the reception desk. Rage emerged from upstairs and retrieved Amber, who appeared to be in a trance like state. A third officer then went to join the other two, and the medical examiner went up in Wendy's room, gathering evidence and taking pictures of the gruesome sight. One officer came out of the dining area and whispered something to Rage. I watched the expression on Amber's face change when Rage grabbed her arm, lifted her up into a standing position, and began leading her toward the exit. I stopped him as he passed by. Where are you taking her? I asked. She's going down to the station to answer some questions, as well as having her clothes and person processed for evidence, he explained. Is she being arrested or charged with anything? Jasper wanted to know. Not at this time, no. We're just going to be asking her questions and confiscating her clothing, the clothes that she's wearing. So, if you want to bring her a change of clothes, you can do that, he informed. Don't worry, Amber. I will be there as soon as we are cleared and can leave. I will get you some clothes from your room and bring them to you, I told her. No, wait. Let me get some clothes to take with me, Amber said, acting erratic. You're not going anywhere except the police station, Rage told her, pulling her toward the door. I just don't want anyone in my room, she said, exchanging glances with Rage. It will be fine, Mackenzie. It will be fine. Mackenzie will only go in there to get you some clothes, and that's it. Right, Mackenzie? Rage assured her. Right. That's all I will do. I promise, I told her. She just nodded with a faraway look in her eyes. I knew she had nothing to do with Wendy's murder, and what Rage was doing was routine. But what was she trying to hide in her bedroom? Typically, when a dead body is discovered and the person who found it is covered in the victim's blood, that person is looked at as a suspect until they're processed and eliminated as such. Rage escorted Amber out of the building. They were arguing in a hushed tone to each other on the way out, which I found odd. It wasn't until he hugged her that I felt like something else was going on between them. I watched the two of them stand outside Rage's car and converse. Rage appeared to be consoling her. I couldn't understand that. If Amber was the murder suspect, why was Rage comforting her? As far as I knew, they had never met before. Don't worry, honey. Everything should be okay, Jasper told me, kissing the back of my hand. I'm not worried. I'm trying to figure out what was going on between Rage and Amber. Something seems weird about their interaction with each other, almost as if they are familiar with one another, I told him. It could also be nothing. Maybe she was asking him about what was going to happen to her. Or possibly she is worried about what she will be wearing until we bring her a change of clothes, he said. He hugged her outside by the car. I don't think he normally hugs suspects. Maybe he's just trying to calm her down. Technically, he's only taking her in for processing. I guess that makes sense. I wonder if Rage will let me see the photo from May's house tonight rather than waiting until tomorrow, I speculated. I don't know why he wouldn't. We will already be there, so why not? He agreed. Faith, is it all right if I gather a change of clothes for Amber? Ugh. As well as change out of this dress since we're apparently not going out tonight, I asked Lee. You will have to wait until the police are finished with their investigation. There is no reason for you to have to walk past that gruesome scene, she said. I won't even go anywhere near Wendy's room. I'm not on I'm on the second floor with the children, and Amber's room is on the third floor. Wendy's room is on the fourth floor, and there's no reason for me to go up there. I promise you. I won't walk past the crime scene. Well, all right. Just make sure you're back down here in 20 minutes, or I'm sending an officer to find you, she told me, raising her eyebrows. I'm not leaving the center. I'm just going up the stairs, I informed her, shifting on my toes and spinning an about face so vigorously I whipped my hair like a model on a runway. I headed up to my room first. I slipped off my shoes, placed them back in their spot in the closet, then removed my dress. I slipped the straps back onto the hanger as I reached into the closet to replace the dress. I noticed an outfit that seemed out of place. I slammed the closet door closed, threw the dress on the bed, hanger and all, and grabbed a pair of baggy sweatpants and loose fitting t-shirt from my dresser in order to dress quickly. I slipped the shirt over my head and leaned against the wall in order to assist with stepping into the pants. As I made my way back down to the front reception area, I was yanking up the pants the rest of the way around my hips as I approached Jasper and Agent Lee. Charlotte, Jillian, Tom, and Mark had all arrived while I was upstairs. He was in our room, I told them, breathing so heavily I was almost hyperventilating. Who? Jasper asked. The killer. He was in our room, I replied. Agent Lee waved over a couple of officers, and they followed her while Jasper and I lagged behind. The other four waited a few moments before following us up the stairs. The two officers searched the room as we waited in the doorway. There's no one here, one of the officers said, shaking his head. He's not here now, but he was in there, I said. It had to have happened during all of the chaos of the police and the guests moving around. How do you know someone was in there? The officer asked. Because of the closet, I told them, pointing. Agent Lee walked over and slowly opened the closet door with one hand, while her gun was in the other hand. Once the door was about a quarter of the way open, Lee yanked the door open quickly and pointed her gun at my clothes. She moved the clothes aside, looking for someone hiding among my wardrobe. There isn't anyone here, Mackenzie. Are you sure you saw someone? Lee asked. All I said was the killer was in the room, not that he is in the room, I clarified. The look on everyone's face displayed confusion. Furrowed brows, slightly parted lips. I stepped over to my closet, reached in, and produced the exact same outfit the butcher had forced me to change into when he had invaded my home. Lavender tank top and black pleated skirt. I threw it on the bed as if it were on fire, and then practically ran back to the doorway where Jasper still stood, and buried my face into his chest. He wrapped his arms around me and made me feel safe. I loved the feeling he gave me when he held me. The love he had for me radiated from him whenever he touched me or looked into my eyes. I don't understand, Lee said, staring at the outfit on the bed. That is the exact attire Malachi forced her to wear when he abducted her. It is also the same outfit she was found wearing when he dumped her in a plastic box, Jasper explained. Someone get it out of here and have it processed. I want it checked for anything foreign, Lee insisted, forcing one of the officers to seal it in an evidence bag. I feel so violated. I can't believe he was in our room. I don't know if he was in here before or if he murdered Wendy. Sorry. I don't know if he was in here before or after he murdered Wendy, I said, mostly to myself. Was it in there when you got dressed earlier? Jasper queried. I don't remember. I don't think so. But I wasn't really thinking about it then. It was sort of on my mind when I came in here to change. That's why I noticed it immediately. I stated. Go ahead and get something for Amber to change into and head up to the station. As soon as we are done here, I will join you, Lee told us. Jasper led me up to Amber's room while the others stayed with Lee. I grabbed a simple t-shirt and jeans for her. Then we left. I couldn't figure out how or when the killer had been in my room, but the thought was causing a sickening feeling in my stomach. Last chapter 16. Look. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know if you're still here, but bye, Danny. Oh, last chapter of the night. Last chapter of the night. You ready, Christy Jurgensen? I know you are. I know you are, girl. I promise you. The last day is going to be the what the fuck moment. What the fuck? Anyway, because of course, this is what happens on the last day. We got to get there. We got to get there. Anyone else here? Anyone else around? Hello? Anyway, I'm going to read the last chapter. So it says there's 3 people. I don't know. I'm going to read the last chapter anyway because I got my resident celebrity. It's fine. Detective Rage was waiting for us in front of the station when we pulled into the parking lot. He stepped up to the passenger side of the car and opened the door for me as Jasper shifted the car into park. Without saying a word, he helped me into a standing position and escorted me into the station as if he were my own personal Secret Service agent. We waited in the front area for Jasper to join us before he spoke. Agent Lee filled me in on the situation. How did he get into the center without being detected? Rage asked as he took us back into an interview room. I don't know. He was able to get in and kill Wendy, put that outfit in my closet, and leave without anyone noticing. I'm sure he is trying to torture me psychologically with a horrifying memory, I uttered. It also seems as though he is taunting you with the idea that he can get in and out of the center without being detected, to which will horrify you to know that at any time, he could come into your room and murder you and then leave and no one will ever know, Rage said, almost as if he already knew who the killer was. That is eerily specific. I don't think that is something she needs to hear right now, Jasper scolded. Well, it's something that should be considered. Have a seat and wait here. I'll take these clothes to Amber and allow her to change out of the prison jumpsuit we gave her, he said, taking the clothes from me and leaving the room. Wow. How am I going to be able to sleep at the center now? I asked Jasper. I won't be able to be left alone at any time. I don't know when he would come for me. I hope he didn't mean that. I don't think he meant it that way. I feel like he is trying to understand how it is that we have a security guard that wanders the property and yet still somehow managed to end up with a killer inside, Jasper explained. He is only one guy. He can't be everywhere at once. Besides that, he mainly guards the front area. So if someone were to come in through the back door, the only way he would have been detected is if someone were in the kitchen or dining area. Besides, no one ever goes out that door, I hypothesized. When we went out to play, we went through one of the side doors through the therapy room, Jasper reminded me. Oh, yeah. And Rebecca followed us out there. That could mean she knows that the security, that means she knows what the security schedule is. She, she could most likely know which doors he is watching and when and if she walked around the back of the building. She could have seen that back door and know he doesn't monitor that door, I said. Now we are getting somewhere, Rage said, standing in the doorway. How many doors does the center have that lead to the outside? There are 4: the front door, the back door, and 2 side entrances. Each one of the therapy rooms have a door to the outside. I'm quite sure, though, that the guard would have spotted someone if they went through one of the side doors, I informed. Could it be possible that while the guard was making his rounds, the killer could have walked through the front door while you two were getting ready to go out? Rage accused. Are you saying it is our fault that the killer was able to get into the center so easily and undetected? I asked, outraged. I'm just saying there wasn't anyone at the reception desk. Where was the rest of the staff? Rage continued. We were all getting ready to go out for the night. Everyone else went home to change, and we went upstairs. We weren't admitting any new guests today. No. Guests today, and there wasn't anyone on the list to leave. All the group All the group and individual sessions had concluded, and they were all just standing around. So we thought it would be fun to go out and try to forget all about the tragic events taking place surrounding my wife. You can ask Agent Lee. Mackenzie invited her to go with us, Jasper explained. Well, isn't that convenient? Everyone leaves the center so you won't be interrupted when you visit Wendy Mason. Why did everyone need to leave? Was there something wrong with the clothes they were already wearing? Rage spat at Jasper. Everyone was wearing casual clothing. When I got back with Agent Lee, we made plans to go out as a group, and they went home to change their clothes. Everyone was back at the center dressed in nice clothes to go out when we left to come here. I said. Excuse me, detective, but what exactly are you implying? Jasper asked. I think you killed Wendy Mason and then planted the outfit in your wife's closet just before y'all left to go out, Rage concluded. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Rage was actually accusing my husband of murder. Jasper stood up from his seat, fists clenched, feet shoulder width apart. I had to say something before he was arrested for assaulting a police officer. Detective Rage, are you accusing Jasper of being the copycat killer? I asked, using a tone as if the notion was ludicrous. Actually, no. I'm only accusing him of killing Wendy Mason and planting evidence to point us in the direction of the copycat, Rage clarified. That is simply ridiculous. Why would he go through the trouble to kill Wendy? I asked, becoming aggravated. Maybe they were having an affair, Rage blurted. You stupid son of a bitch, Rage yelled and lunged towards Rage. I jumped in between them just in time to stop him from punching the detective square in the jaw. I pressed my hands against Jasper's chest, and with all the strength in my thighs, I pushed him back, away from making a huge mistake. Why would you say that? I asked, turning around to face the detective and pressed my back against Jasper to keep him from lunging at Rage again. There was no picture found with her body. That tells me it is a different killer, Rage explained. That doesn't explain why you have accused Jasper of such a heinous crime, I complained. We have a witness claiming to have seen your husband coming out of the victim's room shortly before the body was discovered, Rage said, his head held high as though he were proud of himself. You don't have shit. You're making all this up to fuck me over somehow. What the fuck did I ever do to you? Jasper said, leaning against me to get closer to Rage. I had never seen Jasper that outraged, including when we were children and one of our foster siblings would get picked on at school. He would defend them, but never become angry. Jojo, calm down, I told Jasper. Whoever this witness is, they're a liar. Detective Rage, my husband was with me the entire time after I arrived back to the center. And as for your affair theory, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. Well, unfortunately, we have eyewitness testimony. I have every right to hold him for the next 72 hours until we can prove otherwise. Rage continued. Rage motioned for a uniformed officer who approached Jasper and led him out of the room. I thought it was innocent until proven guilty, I questioned. He's not being charged with anything. I just have the right as a law enforcer to hold a suspect for questioning. I want to know who told you Jasper was the one coming out of Wendy's room. The witness has requested to remain anonymous. Your witness is full of shit. Jasper was with me in our room and walked with me down to the reception area, I told him. You had your eyes on him the entire time? Rage asked. Yes, except when I was in the shower. He could have killed her while you were in the shower. What exactly is it that you're trying to do here, detective? I just want you to know that you are never going to be safe. You can't go anywhere or do anything. One day your time will come. You were born into this life, and someday it will come to an end. The family you chose won't be able to save you. They will try, but they will fail. Your only true savior is the family you were born into. Find them, and only then will you truly be safe, Rage said, as though he were the messiah of a cult and he were preaching to his followers. What the fuck are you talking about? I was beginning to feel uneasy and terrified to be alone in the room with him. In order for me to avoid the awkwardness, I changed the conversation direction. I want to see the photo found with May's body, I told Rage. That's fine. But due to your husband now being a suspect, you are unable to share any of the evidence with him. Is that understood? I nodded as a tear rolled down my cheek. Rage left the room to retrieve the photo, and I called Agent Lee in order to get Charlotte and Jillian released from questioning. Detective Rage is going to show me the photo found with May's body, but he's detaining Jasper for further questioning about the murder of Wendy. Is there any way you can allow Charlotte and Jillian to come here and sit with me so I'm not alone? Absolutely. I will make sure they leave here in 5 minutes. They will be there for you, Lee said before hanging up. And that is the end for tonight. What is happening here? I see everything. All right. Miranda's here. Camaro's here. You took a nap. Yay, #1 fan. I love that. uh, this is why people don't like some cops. Exactly. Shit's about to go down. Do you like the big Stein? What? Uh, and we find out tomorrow what happens. We're big mad. Christy Jorgensen. I got shit going on my phone. I keep hearing stuff. Oh, it's Ethan. Ethan is sending me an attachment. Ethan should be in here listening to my shit. Actually, Ethan already knows. What the hell? Yeah, that's it. That's all of what I have tonight. Kurt Cobain's death was a homicide. As shocking new private forensic findings question the suicide ruling. Oh, good grief. Hold on. I have to send him the forehead smack. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Anyhow. Yep. Now you get to find out how it ends tomorrow. I love it. I love this. It's like a mini series. You're only getting a little bit here, a little bit here, and a little bit here. And then once you get to that part where it's like the climax where it's like, oh yes, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, you just stopped. Why did you stop? I'm just saying. Yep. I'm never gonna get monetized here doing shit like that. Anywho. LOL, you were right. What? What's he say? I was right. Heck yeah, I've seen Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues. I know who the guy is. Can't think of what his name is right now. He has 3 names. But yeah, I used to watch Dawson's Creek. I was a kid then. Of course I was right. Kurt Cobain didn't kill himself. I've always said that. Kurt Cobain did not kill himself. There is a ton of evidence to prove otherwise. He did not kill himself. It was not a suicide. This was something else. Put it back there. Put what back there? Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues? Put it back as a child? why do I always feel like the comments are, wait, what? Hold on. Donkey. Hold up. Christy Jorgensen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold up. James Vanderbeek. Oh, he had stage 3. He had stage 3 cancer. He had cancer. I know. 48. It says 48. Oh, Camaro. Damn. James Vanderbeek died. Damn, was he Mormon? Holy crap, was he Mormon? Could he have any more kids? Holy cow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 kids. 6 kids. Damn. What the hell? It says literally. I said you had a rough 2026. She says literally. Damn it. Damn it. Okay. Yep, I know who you're talking about too. Isn't it like Coach or something? Isn't that what you call him? Don't y'all call him Coach or some shit? Oh my god. 13 kids and counting. Apparently. Ah, good grief. Well, Screech from Saved by the Bell, he died recently too. Well, I say recently, I think it was like 6 years ago. But, mm, mm, mm. Oh, that's a little rough. James Vanderbeek. And then the guy from Fast and the Furious, but that was a car accident, so there's that. That sucked. Um, oh, yeah. He pops up as Big Daddy. Yeah. Yeah, you always called him a coach. That's where I get that from. Big Daddy. Whoo-wee. Ah, so that is the end for tonight. We will pick it up again tomorrow when the shitteth must hitteth the fatteth again. Let me put it this way. I like doing that where, it seems like you get to that point where it's like something's going to go and then I know. Yeah, I know. Three doors down. Amy was telling me about that one. But I always like where you get up and then it starts to come back down and you think there's going to be a lull, but then you got to come back up and it's like, what the hell is going on now? It's got to constant, constant. constantly being hit with something. It's great. It's great. I love it. I love it. I will say this much though. As much as this one gives me the heebie-jeebies, I will be putting a trigger warning on this one because this one is it involves a child. It's the main character who is abandoned at the age of 6. Luckily, my niece at the time was 6, so I was able to get a picture with her. But yeah, so it's her backstory. This is her going through the foster care system. This one's next month. So this one is going to need heavily. I know, right? She was so sweet. I think this one is probably my favorite one. I think that one's probably my favorite in the entire series. But it's also because that's where it ends, and I feel like all of my okay, so you're gonna wait till next month before you buy those books, or are you gonna buy them separately? Because I'd love to have a sale this month. um, but yeah, it's upsetting when they it ends and then my characters are just over. I remember crying when I finished that book and it was published, and I was like, I felt like these people were my friends. Hey, I don't know. I'm just looking to have sales every month. That's all I care about. I just like having sales every month. So let me put it this way: Friday. Yeah, Mackenzie was 6. She was 6. So in this one, this is her this is her growing up. So it starts out like when you heard the first book, so the first chapter where it basically describes the fact that she was in the foster care system, this actually gives the entire rundown of the foster care system, and you get to hear everything that happened to her while she was in the foster care system. There is a gentleman in here that gives me the heebie jeebies very severely. So if at any point in time I'm reading and I start going, ugh, that's why. I wrote him, I created him, but it still gives me the heebie jeebies just talking about him because he's a creepy dude. He's one of her foster dads. Because I did, let me put it this way. Okay. So I had watched a lot of videos about children that were in the foster care system and things that had happened to them in the foster care system in order to write this book. It's very difficult to get through. Yeah, I will tell you that much. It is very difficult to get through because of that reason. So yeah, I'm I'm actually looking forward to it only because then you get to understand why sometimes she has the nightmares that she has, and you'll start to understand why she has like kind of like an inner strength, but it doesn't, you know what I mean? You get it. It's like she has like these moments where she's like, I can do anything I want. And then she's got all these other moments where it's like, I don't want to be alone. I don't think I need to be left alone. But you get to find out why. Probably. Probably. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So Friday the 13th. That is, that's January. That's this Friday. Friday the 13th. I want to go live and just randomly talk it at night, just randomly talk about bullshit. Nothing. Just sit around and just talk about shit, whatever. We can do it here or we can do it on TikTok. I don't know. Cuz it was an even split on whether or not it was here or TikTok. It was an even split on TikTok. Oh, I know, girl. I know you will be. If I do it on TikTok, I'll be on a little earlier. You're home alone? Well, watch out for the two sticky bandits. Make sure you have all your traps set up. I want to be on a train ride. Game over. Hmm. If I go live on TikTok, you're there with your dogs. I will go a little earlier to have Aria with me. So because that will usually build the audience just a little bit more. I don't know why it does whenever I have Aria. It's like everybody wants to be there. And then once I put her away, people usually leave. But I figure if I start having a bullshit conversation, just randomly start rambling and talking about stuff, people tend to stay. They don't care if Aria's there or not. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. But if I do it over here, I don't know if it matters. I just can't get a whole lot of people in. It only says I have three. I don't know where y'all can see it. I see it up here, but oh, I know. But if I do it on TikTok, I can have music playing and I can just be a giant goofball because I don't care at this point. I don't care what people think of me on TikTok anymore. I'm going to stop holding back and trying to be the reserved. I don't I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to start just randomly saying whatever the hell comes to my mind rather than thinking about it before I say it. I also have this. I never say anything I feel like I need to apologize for. Yeah, I see three, which means it's Miranda, you, and Camaro. I know. I gotta be me. And I liked it better. That's why I liked being on Rainbow, because I could do whatever the hell I wanted to. So, but if I do it on TikTok, I could probably do a couple of battles and, hang out and shoot the shit with somebody else, but it would only be people I know. I'm only doing it with people I know. And I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to let anybody up in the boxes either. And yes, Camaro, it's Caitlin. Caitlin is the one who gave way too much information the one time that she was in the box. That was a little nice. No more Miss Nice Guy. Yeah, I know, right? She gave off a little too much information when she was in the box that one time. Started talking about rabbits and everything else. And the last time she was in the box, um, yeah, exactly. But the last time she was in a box, she started talking about all of her TikTok shop items. And Amy kept sending me a text going, "You need to get her out of there. You're going to start getting in trouble because I don't have TikTok shop." So if she starts talking about it and it's not on my screen, apparently you get in trouble for it. So I was like, absolutely not. But on Friday, those that have been here for the books, we can sit there and talk about the books. Hopefully, maybe I can get some sales. I can't say anything about there being a link in my bio because if I say it out loud on TikTok, the AI will hit me. But we can always just say um, like the mods and stuff like that can say to check out my link tree in my bio. And that's all you have to say. You don't have to say what they're looking for. Just say, check out the link tree. Exactly. Exactly, Camaro. I did too. I did too. She kept saying it. And Mal even messaged me afterwards because she had mentioned in a comment too, and Mal messaged me, and I felt really bad because I ignored Mal about it too. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to." She said she wanted to show me something. No, I don't. If I wanted to see, honey, I'd be in your lives because I know you go live. She goes live. I'm never in them. I had to mute her messages on TikTok Yeah, I had to mute her messages on TikTok because she was constantly sending just, and it wasn't like it wasn't like every once in a while where she'd be like, "Hey, how's it going? No big deal," right? No, it was like every 15, 20 minutes. She was constantly sending me messages and she kept one. And if I didn't respond, she'd keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm like, okay, you know what? No, I can't do this anymore. But yeah, she was in a box one time, talked about the fact that she had lost custody of like 6 kids or some shit like that. I don't know. And then she was pregnant. And I'm like, please don't give off that much information. That's a lot. So anyway, um, possibly. But Friday the 13th, I'm gonna do a live. I think I'm gonna do it on TikTok. That's how I'm gonna do it. Friday night. This one will be posted at noon on Friday. The other one is already scheduled to be posted um, at 10 a.m. So this one will be posted at noon on Friday. And then I'll have tomorrow's to be posted at 2 on Friday. So then we'll have all 3 of those already done. And then Friday night, so when I go live at 2, I can be like, hey, if you want to be caught up on the book, I do have all of the videos set, you know, to be posted so you can catch up on anything that, you know, you missed. We'll talk about it tonight and I'll just go on TikTok because at least that way on TikTok we can do a little bit. Maybe I can make a little money so I could stop getting hounded about the fact that I'm paying for my credit card with his paycheck. Yes, I'm paying for my credit card, asshole. Because everything else that I've made on TikTok, mind you, is still sitting in my PayPal. I'm not transferring anything over because I don't want him to see that. Like, I haven't even transferred over my rainbow stuff. I probably should. I should just transfer that over. So, some of those places do it for $13, but they want you to do like the flash things. They'll do them for 13, or at least they do around here anyway. I'll have to. Nope, that tattoo place closed down. Never mind. The one that did the one on my back and the one on my arm and the one on my leg, yeah, they shut down. They had 2 locations at one time. They took away one location, so they all moved to the other location, and that one's gone now too. That guy retired. The guy that owned the tattoo place retired. So there's that. I still need to get this one done. Okay, so up here is supposed to be like a almost like a sunset. So it's supposed to have like the pinks and orange and all that stuff. So it's supposed to be a sunset here. And then right? And then there's a trail that's supposed to go down my arm all the way to my wrist, and there's supposed to be butterflies because butterflies signify new life, but it's supposed to be like a dirt trail because that's where I lived running. And there's supposed to be an entire scene all the way around her here. So this is supposed to be completely covered all the way. And I'm supposed to have, yeah. I can't wait to get that done because, oh my gosh, yes. But it'll have to be done several times only because of the fact that I'm so thin that doing too much at one time will actually cause this right here was causing my arm to swell so much. So yeah, we had to stop. And then this girl no longer works there, so I have to find a new tattoo guy to finish it. I say guy. I have to find a new tattoo person to finish it. But it's supposed to be like completely colorful all the way down. And nowadays, since they don't charge for color, uh-uh. I wish I did, but I know exactly what I want, so I know once somebody has it, like the idea, I know that they can figure it out. So, but yeah, this was she had she had the idea, so she knew what I wanted, and we were gonna do it in steps. So this was the first to go on, and then she was gonna wait, or she was gonna do the sunset here. She was gonna do the sunset here, and then this part of it, and then the rest of it was gonna wait. But because this was causing my arm to swell, she didn't want to go up here and do all of this too. So that was going to have to wait. So I wanted to wait until this was healed. And then she was going to do this and the rest of this. But I hadn't seen any of it. I hadn't seen the rest of it. So she may not have even had it. But yeah, she didn't work there anymore. So I can't draw. I mean, I could probably do like a rough thing and be like, this is what I want. There's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like a really pretty dirt trail. And then there's supposed to be like flowers on the sides with butterflies and everything else. So the whole underside, which is going to hurt like a motherfucking bitch. I'm going to tell you that right now. This, I have a bruise. Damn, I got a bruise and I didn't even know it. But this whole underside is going to hurt really bad because I know that this right here felt like she was stabbing the needle into my armpit. Just that right there. And this was uncomfortable. But I do have, I know, I wish I could, but I'm not that worried about it. This right here, that did not feel good. But the guy did say that he was surprised that I wanted to do the entire thing all the way around because most guys, when they get it, they only go from here to here. He said most guys won't go all the way around to the back. And look at that bingo wing. Fuck that. So anyway, I need to start doing my planks again. So anyway, all right. I'm gonna go. It's almost 11. That's crazy. It's almost 11. I have to still work out my what's it called? The blurb from the back of my book. I still have to work that out. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'm going to check my parents' mail tomorrow morning, since tomorrow is Thursday. And then Friday, I'll be here. Not here, but you know what I mean. I'll be live. But yeah, I have no idea if she even finished the rest of it because every time I went in to even talk to her, oh, she's not here. She's not here. And then all of a sudden it was, she no longer works here. You won't be on it too? What happened? I wait for you every night, Camaro. What happened? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be, Christy Jorgensen? If you're not going to be on my live at 2, where are you going to be? You got a doctor's appointment, don't you? You have a doctor's appointment? Do you have a doctor's appointment? I have to go get blood drawn on Monday. I have no idea what I'm going to do with Aria. I may have to ask Dude if he can watch her. Yeah, doctor's appointment. Girl, we all got those. I may have to ask Dude if he can watch Aria, so that I can go in to get my blood drawn. And I got to chug some water to make sure that, you know, everything looks good for Monday. Because I got to do that sometime next week. Giggity. But anyway, all right. I've been on for 215 minutes. Can't see your posts. What posts? I saw you said you had a doctor's appointment. I said we all got that. You won't be on it too. What posts? Are you talking about your posts on TikTok? No, because you've never accepted my follow request. Ever. And I have asked repeatedly. You never accept my follow request. That's why I can't send you any messages. Not unless you send me one first, because otherwise I can't find you. It disappears after a while. But anyway, I'm going to go. I will see everyone tomorrow. At least here, right, Christy Jorgensen? You're going to be here above that. I said you won't be on 2. Wish you find her. Is that what you're talking about? Wish you find her. Are you talking about that one? Talking about sketching it? I can't draw. Oh, no. I haven't found her. I don't know where she is, and the tattoo place won't tell me where she went. So that's okay. I'll find another person to do the tattoo. Yeah, I'll find another person to do the tattoo and get it all finished and done. I'm expecting it to potentially cost almost $1,000 once it's completely done. I have no idea. I literally don't. I don't know what tattoos cost nowadays. I have no idea what tattoos cost nowadays. I'm always shocked because the one on my back was only like, I don't know, I think it was like $30. I think it cost me $30 to get this one done. So, but at the time it was because it was all black. It would have cost $80 if I got color. So that's why I was like all black, and you can't tell what it is now anyway. So I'm thinking about possibly having it redone a little bit, maybe a little. I don't know. I may have it just go straight down my sides too. And that was before they called it a tramp stamp. So neener. I just wanted to know what hurt worse, childbirth or a tattoo. And let me tell you something, that tattoo felt pretty damn good after giving birth. My son was only a few months old when I got that done. But anyway, going what? You're going what? What did you say? I just need to be covered. If I had lottery money, I would be covered everywhere. I'm thinking about getting like a butterfly right here because I have one in this general vicinity that needs to be covered. But I'm terrified of the sternum. That's one thing that I'm scared of. And I know how badly it hurt the first time on my chesticles. So anyway. All right, I'm going to go. I will see everybody either at 2 tomorrow or somewhere about 7:15, 7:30. Right around the time that Ari is ready for bed. But anyway, all right. Thank you guys for joining me. I had a great time. I really appreciate all of you. I'm so glad that y'all were here. And I'll see y'all later.